Welcome to another episode of Chasing Labels. I'm your host, Stephen Billings, and with me, as always, is your other host, the other guy that's wearing a hoodie at 4:30 a.m. in the morning to talk to some guys across the pond, and then also talk Blu-ray announcements. I know that was a mouthful. Stephen Billings is here, and Andrew Cabral is here. How you doing, man?
Doing good, Stephen. Doing good. It is, like you just said, early in the morning. But for some, maybe it's not, depending on where you are in the world.
Yeah.
For me, this is my prime living hours.
I was gonna say you're like getting close to winding. This is like winding down time.
No,
for you.
it's not even like this is like midday for me, I guess. I don't know.
Really?
I always say I live of rock star hours, but I don't have the rock star life. If that makes any sense.
You strive for it. That's
I
cool.
strive for it. You know what? The great Hans Zimmer once said that he works a 9 to 5 job, but he meant 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. And I just like to live by that philosophy. I mean,
well, that's like you're trying to bring the rock starness to like movie collector people.
Yes.
You're like, you stay up all night watching movies so that you can talk about them during the day.
To be quite frank, there's nothing like watching a movie around 1, 2, 3 a.m. There's complete silence. No one bothers you. There's no sunlight to glare on your television screen or whatever. And the more things you watch the late at night, the more you get exhumed by the experience. Like we'll talk about it later. I watched David Lynch's Inland Empire last night at 1 a.m. And that's a 3-hour film at 1 a.m. in the morning. It's a hell of an experience.
I was going to say, they've talked about this somewhat before, and you talk about how things that are surreal get even more surreal in the middle of the night.
They do, because like you're in the dark. I'm mostly in the dark alone, and it's just you just get consumed by cinema. If that's how you want to put it.
You got a good setup there. It's a good setup there. It's a good setup. But enough about us. Yes. This is spy number 80, and this will be our last episode of the year because we like to take a break for the Christmas season and the new year and just to get let us recharge a little bit. We do a weekly episode. I don't think we've missed a week, maybe 1 or 2, but I don't think we really missed any weeks this year. So a lot of episodes this year, and I think good streak. And I think it's a good one to end out on because we got 2 really great guests coming back to talk with us. They're coming from the UK, one of my favorite labels in the game, and that is Indicator Powerhouse. We got John and Sam. How you doing, man? You guys?
Good, thank you. Very good.
Good morning, chaps. Good morning.
Yes,
morning,
it's proper
guys.
morning here. None of this middle of the night morning.
Having said that, who does podcasts at nighttime? Now? we do them like really early in the morning.
Yeah, having said that, I can relate to Andrew very much, but more in terms of working hours. I signed off our last project that we've been authoring with David Mackenzie over in New York. I signed it off the other morning at 4:40 a.m.
Oh man,
and that's kind of like standard practice around here. It kind of gets ridiculous because there's a lot to do and only so much time to do it in.
Yeah, I was gonna say you guys are working with people all around the world, so it's just like. It gets done when it gets done, exactly. and that's why we love you. That's why we love everybody that does the boutique labels. They're all working hard at all times.
Oh yeah.
So let's go. So John, how's things been going for you? Personal, project level. How's everything been going?
The year's been, I suppose it has been a bit strange. I mean, I think the project that Sam's just alluded to, the Michael J. Murphy project was. Something that Sam had the idea to do what seems a long, long time ago now, about 5-6 years ago. And it came to fruition in the last, couple of months. But I think that's been a project that's probably was bigger than Sam anticipated. And it's taken up, obviously, a huge amount of his time and a few of the team's time. But I think we've got there in the end. So we've had to put it back a couple of times. We initially had it pegged for October, and it's never something that we ever like to do, but unfortunately just the scale of it I think was just way too much. So it's all pretty much ready to go for the date that we've set now. I think it's end of January, beginning of February. So a 34 film box set.
Ooh.
There's not many of them around, is there?
No. I'm going to say this though. I'm a little upset because we're doing the Shelf Shock Rewind Awards, and unfortunately, you guys have disqualified that set because I was going to definitely put it in there, because initially when I started making graphics for that award show, I had the Michael J. Murphy set in the graphics, and I was like, for sure this is going to be one that I probably will have to vote for, and other people are going to want to vote for it, so I'm going to make sure it's in people's face in this graphic, and you guys pushed it. So
understandably
well done on, and well done on your awards. I know this is its first year, isn't it? So
thank you.
Put on a huge amount of work into that. So good luck with the results when they're announced.
Thank you. Soon, me and Ryan Varilla over at Disconnected, just have been going crazy on it. We're still going crazy on it because we still got a lot more work to do. But we hope that a lot of people vote, with voting's going on right now. So please, everybody go out and vote on your favorites. Write in your favorites if you don't like any of our selections. But so let's talk about the year. Well, I guess, Sam, so how's everything else going on for you this year? How do you feel about how things have been going this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a sort of transitional year for us in a couple of ways. First of all is the launch into the States. Which is going nicely, but it is perhaps a little bit more modest than perhaps we hoped it would be by this time in the year. We went out with a lot of titles that we licensed from independents rather than studios. Titles that customer, I'd be like, yeah, this is great. But they don't soar. Some of those titles they don't soar in the same way that when you announce something that's been out a million times before, like Humphrey Bogart's. I can never quite square that circle. People obviously like, and why not? Great upgrades of titles that have been around. My particular kind of fetish in this space is stuff that you just haven't been able to get, and my driving kind of passion, this idea of what hasn't been done, what's missing, how can we plug the gaps, how can we kind of really map the terrain in a more kind of profound and meaningful way. But what we do is a mixed economy of those things, and that's simply because we're diverse in our interests, and we just kind of love film. I mean, it's like there's a full stop after that sentence, basically. But so it hasn't quite got to a place that we hoped it would. I mean, in terms of our shul, in this last quarter, it's been a little bit upended. There's a bit of car crash really because of Michael J. Murphy. I mean, it just was so huge. It was just huge. It was beyond what we could have expected. Like John was saying, there's like 30 films, 34 hours worth of feature film content. There's like 10 plus hours worth of extras, and each and every film. It wasn't just a case of we managed to get this rare 16 millimeter, and one of them was a Super 8, and there was some problem with each and every film. I like profound problems, like missing audio, missing sequences. We've had to do very intricate reconstructions using SD material, but get this, it's stuff that Michael J. Murphy shot from the wall of his house when he was projecting the films, so that's kind of it's compromised in certain ways. But what we've managed to do with it, more specifically what Michael Brook in his genius has managed to do with some of those, I mean, some of them are kind of end to end, it's 16 mil, but we'll have been missing the audio for one shot or one sequence. And that's where Wayne McGinn, who was one of the producers, a kind of consultant for the project, came in, because he had every existing VHS, the rare Polish VHS of X, Y, and Z. So it was just a really deep, intricate, complex, stressful, tiring thing to put together. But wow, I mean, I just really hope that people kind of, embrace it. I realize there's a bit of a hurdle, which is that most people have never heard of this guy. But, I think in terms of what boutique publishing can do, and in my mind, I suppose there's a bit of a should do, it kind of really delivers on this stuff. Hasn't been in this space. You've not been able to access it. But guess what? Not just here are some of these films, but here are all of the films by this guy. Everything that could possibly said, it's definitive. And it's just a really extraordinary exercise to kind of, steep yourself in this guy's work. It's amazing, the continuity of themes and concerns, and the same faces and actors. And, there's like a Woody Allen thing going on where you kind of got the same actors for a bit, and then there's a phase and you get a bunch of new actors, and but you kind of get these generations of the troupe kind of being part of it. And there's some nice, Michael J. Murphy died in 2015, but there's some nice archival interviews with him talking about his movies. So yeah, that's hugely preoccupying my mind now, even though we just signed it off, 3 months later than planned. But it does mean that, yeah, we didn't manage to get much out in the last quarter, which is a real shame because what we had lined up was all good stuff. It's coming. We're going to get a nice concentrated sequence of releases early next year. But yeah, because of Michael J. Murphy, we just thought, we're not going to make another announcement this year. Ordinarily, we would. There'd be one around now, or maybe even a week ago. But we just thought, let's just kind of regroup, take a chill pill, if you like, and come out of the gates with all of our announcements for next year, which will include a whole bunch of UHDs and a lot more exciting stuff besides. And some of the conversations that we've been having with various studios they haven't peaked this year, but we just had some communications in the last few days, which looks very positive, John. We might get into a conversation early next year, which could bear fruit. So yeah, we'll see. It's been, a bit frustrating in some ways. And certainly, yeah, the Michael J. Murphy did just throw us a bit of a googly, it has to be said. But, really pleased it's done. And I think some folks will really love it. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, I think, that Michael J. Murphy really would have been a great captain of the year. And along with the other stuff that got pushed to next year too, the Santo release is another one that
big gun down.
Yeah. And but I would like to say that and I agree with you, like this year was a little bit of a transitional year, delving into realms of film that I think people might have been a little bit like why is Indicator doing this? We talked about it, I think, a little bit when you came on back, I think in February. Because at the time we didn't know you were about to put out or it was the month that the Sex Comedies trilogy had come out, and then we hadn't known that I can't say things, Penamini organization
Pemini,
that hadn't been announced yet. And when that got announced, I believe the next month after we talked, I was like, they were right. Something really interesting and exciting is about to get announced. And then you just continued to just pepper in things that were just different and interesting, along with some returning things. You brought, like you said, back a noir set, but then you started a new noir line with the Universal noir line. And just, I think though maybe you didn't get the nice, cool, flashy, ending to the year, I still think it was a really strong year for you guys, and something to be really proud of. And now people just need to be a little patient, and you're about to get like a really awesome beginning of next year, along with some, it sounds like really cool getting into the 4K things, which is a lot of people's,
which is even more
interest.
exciting for 4K UHD enthusiasts out there. There's another avenue, another company that's getting in the game, because everyone is just curious about the format. The format's still relatively new in terms of, what it can do, what it can show with a lot, especially specifically older catalog titles. The transition from catalog titles from VHS to DVD, and then from DVD to Blu-ray was such a revelation. Now we're talking Blu-ray to 4K, and that's even more of a revelation for a lot of old classic films. And it gives a lot of old films, once again, this idea of, preservation and all that kind of stuff, and, remastering and keeping things, keeping things intact for future generations and whatnot, which is always important. All that archiving and stuff. This was a very transitional year for, Indicator. Now that I think about it, the expanding your whole platform internationally must have been just a logistical adventure. Just setting up shop here in the States, having to ship more internationally in general, must have been something, just the way things have been shipping overseas and within the Europe and all that stuff must have been difficult.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge, and it diverts your time in some ways away from the more fun stuff, or the meat and potatoes, as we say in the UK, because there's all kinds of logistics and financial stuff, and all needs doing right, and you need to try and get it right from the outset, and that's not always possible. But so far so good. I think it's been great working with guys like Jesse over at Diabolic. That he's just so great, and he's very flexible, very keen to kind of find ways to work, kind of not exactly directly with us, but in a very close way. And the results he's been having on something like the Michael J. Murphy is really heartening. It's looking good. The interest seems to be kind of equal either side of the pond, which I find really heartening.
That's always great to hear. I mean, it's great to hear that.
Funny enough, we're going to have Jesse on at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I think that'll be our first episode of the new year. Coincidentally enough, I guess we'll bring all of those logistical sale things, I guess, to him. Because when you branch out to an international market, there must be some type of risk. Financial risk, logistical risk, all those things. So I'm glad that it seems to be working out, just because it makes it a lot easier for us as consumers to get the stuff we want. It makes it, we have more avenues to look to where we want to get things. Because I don't know, Stephen, you're a little impatient as well as I am in terms of like waiting for things.
Well, I mean, like for the most part, when it comes to,
I'm talking about buying something, having to wait for it to be shipped and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, the thing is when it comes to indicator, usually I mostly buy direct, and when you get direct, a lot of times it comes, if not on time, a little bit early. So
surprisingly, yes. The flash sale that you guys had in October, my things got here very quickly. Maybe just because I'm on the East Coast, that could be possibly it. But no, it came very quickly. Stephen, I don't know how it goes with you.
It's like I said, it's for the most part, I don't think I think there's only one thing I've bought from the US, like a US store for indicator, and that was the Pastor Hall release. I think I did buy that from Diabolic.
Yeah, the US titles, you can find them here.
Yeah.
Amazon sells them.
The other place, obviously, we sponsor with Orbit DVD, and they're actually starting to do pre-orders now. Not for everything, but he seems to be adding new pre-orders almost every day now. So
they have, I would say that, just not to shamelessly plug them, but they do have tons of indicator titles in stock and available. Sometimes when things sell out, that's the first place I go to look, just so I don't end up getting gouged on the third market seller, because the indicator titles, go for very pricey after they sell out. They're very collectible. Just from the consumer perspective, they're very collectible, and people want them to display them on the shelves.
I know I'm looking at them right now.
Oh, yeah, I'm like, I actually looked. I'm
looking over to my right,
in sync.
Yeah. Because I have no computer to look at in case I forget something. I have to look over at my shelves and be like,
the thing for me is I've got them on the shelf, but I also have them lying around me, just so that when I just on
like
my
a kind
you
of
never know
blanket.
He just pulls them over him.
I have a tendency to fall asleep every single night while watching movies, and there's always indicator stuff around me. So all this stuff is always around me.
I can see you waking up thinking that whatever you were watching was actually reality. You don't really know what reality is.
Or what happens is, I don't know if this happens to everyone listening, when you're watching something or thinking about something, then you fall asleep, it ends up showing up in your dreams. So who knows? Yeah. I probably ended up in a Humphrey Bogart film noir at one point.
That's cool.
Yeah, could be worse.
That's not a complaint, I guess.
Speaking of which, that said, the Humphrey Bogart said, it is a great kind of ingenious way to kind of, introduce people to Humphrey Bogart, but not show like his most iconic work, but some of his lesser work that probably people aren't familiar with. So that's what I really love about that box set. Is just, these are some of his lesser known stuff, but also in there is very important is his last film is in that box set, which is, I think, just a curiosity for me is watching actors or directors' last films to kind of see how they end their careers and whatnot is always a fascinating thing to me. I think he ends on a fantastic note. I know, Steven, you've seen the film as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think one of the releases I'd say I was a big fan. I knew it was coming eventually. It had been teased for a while, but I know you guys are big fans of Frank Perry, and when you finally were able to put out The Swimmer, I know that was a big deal for you guys. John, talk about finally being able to put out The Swimmer.
It was, we'd been chasing Sony Pictures, from our initial deal. It was a title that we'd requested because there was a very dear friend of mine who was an industry veteran, as they say, Philip Grace, who unfortunately died this year, and it was a film that he kept badgering me every time I used to meet with him. Have you got The Swimmer yet? Have you got The Swimmer yet? Because it's a film that we just loved, we just kept knocking on that Sony door, and eventually I think they just went, "Oh, let them have it." So it's you've all seen it. It's such a great movie.
It is, man. I pushed for it. I mean, I voted for it. I mean, we got it a nomination in the Shelf Shock Rewind Awards. It's in there. It's in there for best Regent B release. It's in there. We got it in there. So, it's such an amazing film, and I really loved the commentary on it. I can't. My mind's blanking on who did the commentary, but it was.
I'm on you. Frank Perry biographer Justin Bozung.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
he really knows. He really knows his onions. Does Justin? Mm-hmm. He's great.
Yeah, it was an amazing commentary, and I also tried to get that commentary nominated, but nobody agreed with me.
No way agreed with me. Yeah, come on. Come on. I think I plugged Indicator as much as I possibly could in the nominations as well.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, I definitely, the box sets, no one does box sets like Indicator really does. The design, the sturdiness of the packaging, it's all, you buy quality, you know what I mean? We buy from a lot, and we buy a lot, so the difference in quality in different places, and the Indicator's always been, it's solid, just really, really solid. I don't know if that was ever an emphasis, and I can't remember if I asked you guys that last time, if just the sheer construction or the quality of those box set releases, if that was ever in mind, or if you just kind of lucked into it.
No, it's something that we were conscious with right from the start, and in fact, we have conversations with the people that put our product together. And that obviously with the way in which the world is at the moment, with increasing costs of just everything from print to boxes to everything, and we did go through a process quite recently about even the grammage of the booklet paper and the sleeve inlay, the grammage of that. And to be honest, we didn't compromise that much in going the cheap route and thinking we could save money here and save money there. Because at the end of the day, people are paying, as you said, a lot of money for the product, so they should get it in very good quality. So we're very conscious of that fact. It's always been right from the start. It's been a key part of. Yeah,
we were being heavily recommended to drop the grammage quite a lot, in line with a bunch of other labels that this particular organization represents, and we couldn't do it. We were just like, no, we just can't do it. It would just feel wrong, I mean, just to us as consumers as well, we can tell, you open things up and there's either nothing in the package, or if there is, it feels flimsy. It just feels a bit token. It doesn't feel like it's I don't know. It feels like it's just there because it's expected to be there, rather than it feeling like it's got something of substance about it. Right? I mean, that's both in the wordage, the contents of the word, but also just the sheer physical presence is. It just feels important. So, I don't think we'll be making those sorts of compromises even in the face of raw materials costs booming. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you guys don't come off as guys that are gonna just suddenly start skimping just because things, get a little more expensive.
Right.
I didn't
even, the economic situation that exists now, is not just a U.S. thing for anybody out there listening. It's a global issue that's going on. Yes. It's happening everywhere. So it's affecting every part of the consumer world, whether you're buying food or whether you're buying movies, it's affecting everyone everywhere. So
in the production world, every single part in the chain is affected. Every single raw material has gone up. Every piece of shipping you do, every piece of packaging you put the product into, it's heavy duty. It's because nothing else has changed. We haven't put the price up to the consumer, so all that's happened is our bottom line looks a little bit less than it did last year.
Well, I mean, honestly, the way you're running is the way it should be. I mean, the world for the most part likes to raise the prices on things, but people that have jobs, their jobs don't suddenly start paying them more to match that. So the person that should lose the money should be the person that's providing the thing that has all the money to begin with anyway. Like they're the ones that have more of the money to go around. Of course, they got to pay people, but the last thing that you should be doing is making your consumer have to now shell out a couple extra bucks for milk now. Milk used to be, here, the milk I got used to be 2 for $6. I could, now it's like doubled that. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I can't buy milk anymore.
I'll say this. I don't know if it's just the sake of the industry or if it's just, I don't know, the way the movie selling industry works, but the prices haven't really changed across the board. At least I haven't noticed, Stephen.
I don't think it's been too noticeable. I think maybe some of the more mainstream 4K titles have kind of gone up a little bit. Like the baseline for a new release has gotten, I think, leveled up a little bit.
A brand new 4K release from some mainstream blockbuster film will probably be about $30 American easy, maybe more. Stephen.
Sometimes
depending
more
on what you buy, depending on the way your tax works per state and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of the boutique world, the prices have relatively stayed the same, I would say.
I think it's because the boutique labels had a pretty successful pandemic, actually.
To be honest, I bought more during the pandemic than I bought before it. I think that has to do with just me being at home and needing entertainment.
That was our experience. People were at home and wanted to just watch movies. So
I see, John, that you kept buying movies too. I see your wall there behind you has the other side. I see. Yeah.
I see the stacks. I mean, I got them too. It's a good job
Sam has some guys behind him.
John's like, Sam's like, I don't want to let everybody know what I have.
No, exactly. It's too personal.
I try not to show off. But they just, sometimes they get too high and they just come in the frame. You can't help it.
I like to show off. I would show off my shelf right now, but I don't want to mess up the setup. But so before we start getting into Blu-ray announcements, I do want to say, as a pitch for next year, without obviously giving away any specific titles, but can you give us maybe like a nice pitch of what we got to expect? What kind of exciting kind of where are we delving into cinema? Maybe some hints into where we're delving into cinema in 2023.
Yeah. John, do you want me to do that?
You go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Damn, I don't know what to say. No, I mean, we've got a really, I don't know. I always love the kind of diversity of what we do personally, as well as kind of, as it were, professionally. But we've got a really, I think, interesting mix of kind of some classic and less well-known studio stuff. There's not a lot of the kind of lesser-known British, much to my disappointment, because that's really my baby. But what we're doing mostly next year is I think we've already teased the fact that we're doing a whole bunch of Jean Rollin films, so 70s French genre films, all looking just so beautiful in 4K UHD HDR just looks really nice. So that's all coming. We've got a lot of those. We've got some Italian exploitation films from around the period as well, all coming through to UHD. We've got I'm just spilling the beans here. We've got.
I was going to say, dude, I'm not going to stop them.
We've got some other interesting English language genre stuff from the 70s coming up. I won't tell you the country because I'm giving too much away. But again, we're accessing original negs. We are, taking them to 4K end-to-end restoration. So it's really exciting. It's yet another sort of slight shift, and move away. Not that we're moving away from studio product, and not that we're moving away from British either, but it's just all, more of the mix. We've got some more Mexican movies coming up.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. We're loving working with those guys. We've got a few other. I'll stop myself from talking.
No, Sam, come on, man.
We've just in the middle of doing some really interesting deals on some quite sort of outre American 60s stuff, and some 70s, which I'll put the specifics on that later. But we're just kind of not stopping with our desire to sort of dig into kind of weird and peculiar spaces and go down kind of cinematic rabbit holes. And it's I think it's great. I think it's really exciting what we've got coming up. And there's a certain amount of wanting to make sure we give ourselves enough room with the UHDs, because the last thing we want is our UHDs to come out and there be some issue, that the stakes are higher, the risks are higher, the kind of process is more kind of intricate, and the potential for something to go wrong is a little more. Blu-ray all of a sudden just seems, in the same way that DVD did when we were doing them 6 years ago, it's just like an afterthought. You spend your time putting this thing together and then you go, we got to do the DVD. So it just feels like a very different enterprise, partly because we haven't done it yet. We're, if not the last, we're one of the last into the space, having been picked by just about everybody. So,
well, I was going to say, though, I would say that people might think that, but I would say to keep in mind that you're still only a pretty young company. You're only like 5 years in. So the fact that you're not around to 4K yet shouldn't be surprising, because you're still a new company, and you're still trying to make sure that you're being profitable enough to then leap into another format. That's not easy. So a lot of these other labels that are already in there have been around a lot longer and have that ability to transition a lot easier.
I think it's an interesting kind of philosophical moment as well, in a way, if that's not too heavy-handed a way of saying it. It's, the question is, what shall we do, and for what reasons? I mean, you could take a completely commercial perspective and say, well, let's just do some big picture. But then there's the question of, like, the fact that we're doing Jean Rollin, I personally find very exciting, because it's what we're saying is these films are kind of rich and beautiful, and quite extraordinary. They're not everyone's taste, sure, but I mean, they look pretty eye-popping in 4K. So for us, it's a question of what's going to look great. What will the platform, what will the format do for this content, rather than saying, hey, what's going to sell a lot of units. I mean, hopefully that will transition into some good sales, because otherwise we've got to stop that project. But I think it's very us, in a way, to sort of take that slightly different approach and just try and put no, that's not a fair thing to say. There's loads of people putting film first, because that's the whole endeavor. But, just really sort of saying how good this could just look great, So that's we've been working on that for quite some time. So that's been laying on in parallel to a lot of stuff we've been doing. So, and that's in a way, again, just talking about last year, that was another quite unique factor. We licensed these titles some time ago, even though our term of exploitation, so to speak, starts next year. So for the first time ever, we were making sort of quite advanced investments, both in terms of the rights, but also in terms of the restoration piece. So that made this last year feel quite different as well, sort of having these different timeframes going at the same time, and this kind of restoration work happening on things that weren't even going to see the light of day within 2022. So yeah, another reason why this last year was quite logistically interesting and different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I won't talk about any more, but we've got a really nice mix, and hopefully there'll be plenty for folks to get excited about.
For everybody.
Yeah, John, anything else to spill the beans on? You want to accidentally slip something out there?
No, we did. Sam would sack me if I did that.
He did it already.
We're carrying on regardless. Obviously, we're dipping our toe into a UHD market that we don't know too much about, but we're about to find out. And there's been a few pitfalls that we've seen from other companies where maybe they've just not got things right. So, I think we've learned a little bit from that. We've discussed it with some of the other labels about how they've gone about releasing UHD and what kind of things they put in place to make sure that it all goes swimmingly well. So I suppose in a way, that little wait that we've had to dip our toe into this market, then I think it's probably worked out in our favour, really, because we've seen a few of the other labels doing it right, and they've been great. Because we as a community, I think in the UK we've certainly got a very good relationship with most of the labels here, whether it be Arrow, BFI, Eureka. We're all sort of in it together, really. So we've been sharing lots of information between each other.
Yeah, I mean, 4Ks. I agree with Sam. I think that there is a sense to want to fall into just picking like very popular titles to do 4Ks for. But I find your need to want to pick something that's a little bit more, it could be something super obscure and it lends it to it, that you're thinking about what films really, even if they're not popular, if it's lent to a real big upgrade in video quality resolution, that's what you're going to do. And you're going to take the risk on whether, people like it or not. I mean, you're hoping that the work you put in and the money you invest is going to return with people's interest. Exactly. And I love that you take that risk, Yeah,
because we obviously we've changed a lot. As you said, we're a fairly new company. 6 years ago, the whole basis of our company was on the Sony Pictures output, deal that we did. Now, we're, if you look at the schedule for next year, it's a whole different ball game, really. A whole different ball game.
It's funny as well,
we've evolved.
Yeah. In those early days, we were kind of we were trying to forecast what point we could get into doing restoration work, and actually that happened a lot sooner than we anticipated, partly because we work with a great partner with Final Frame in the UK that we sort of found a way to work together that could really facilitate that work. And now the schedule there are a lot of restorations that we've been doing. They might, for the most part, they would be 4K scan with 2K workflow. So getting into end-to-end 4K was another bump, which again sort of started, I think, at the top of last year. But yeah, the cycle of going from receiving masters, maybe needing to do a little bit, to kind of make them a little bit more polished, to actually doing. I mean, there was a period where pretty much everything we were putting out month on month was a new restoration that we'd done, and that's just very satisfying because, again, just to speak to that same thing that you've just touched on, that's bringing new films through to the format, whether that's Blu-ray or now UHD, and that just feels like that's the whole point for me. Yeah,
no, I agree, and it just makes people really have to notice that new and interesting thing that they're about to discover. Like they might not have even glanced at it as much if you didn't put it in 4K. That's the advantage of now transitioning something to that format, because people are so into it right now that you putting something like them French films in 4K is going to be even more exciting for people. And that's like I said, the risk you're taking is amazing. And we appreciate that tremendously.
Right.
But
we'll cross our fingers and hope for the best.
Oh, well, you got my pre-order. You see them all come in. You'll see mine come in. But and I appreciate it. Once again, you sent me a nice note. Again, I appreciate you guys sending me notes every once in a while. I'll get my package from Indicator, and every once in a while I'll get a nice little note from John and Sam saying thanks for support, and that's just amazing. I love that. Thank you. Yeah, but
well, we appreciate everyone, and that's exactly what it is. It's support, isn't it? Because it allows us to do the things Sam's just talked about doing. All the restoration work. That it's not a cheap process, so it's the support of everybody that we do appreciate, and it's great to see the same people, come back month after month and just buy pretty much everything that we release. And it's
where's my producer credit? Where's my producer credit? I want to be a producer.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Steven, you're asking for the moon. Come on,
dude.
just
Sorry.
movies.
I get too caught up. I'm talking with these two guys, and I just get too personal. I'm asking for things I shouldn't ask for.
We already asked them to come on the show and talk to us. You're asking for producing credit.
I'm getting too comfortable. I'm getting too comfortable with them. I'm sorry.
I love it. I love it.
It's just enough that they're here. Come on now.
I know. Sorry, guys. But we love what you guys. We love what you guys do, and just keep doing it, and we'll keep buying it. And
great stuff, right?
Let's forget about Indicator for a second. I know you're here. Let's talk about some other. There's so much to get into. But I know you guys enjoy talking film, so I know there was a lot of great releases that got announced this week. So let's see what we know. Let's see what we can talk about here. Andrew, guide us, please, because I can't guide.
Yes, Stephen is still computerless.
Please be our Sacagawea.
That's a history reference.
I know, right? Sorry.
I'll be the Prince Henry the Navigator, I guess. There's a lot that came out this week. Some slates we got to get to, but some individual stuff we'll start out with early on just to get those off, check them off our list. One that I want to bring up, and I don't think we're going to have time to get into Kino this week, but there's one release from them that's not part of the Kino Classics line, but it's part of their Kino Studio Classics. I mean, it's part of just their Kino Classics line. And this is something that piques my interest. It's a silent movie box set. It's called Silent Avant-Garde, and it's 21 short art films that are all experimental films from people like Sergei Eisenstein and people like that, like early 20th century, like 1920s, 1930s. The one in here that piques my interest the most and is the selling point for me is we have Orson Welles' like second short film he ever did called Hearts of Age from 1934. It's 8 minutes long and it's in this box set. So as an Orson Welles enthusiast like myself and want to buy everything that he's ever done, I got to get this box set now. And it's got all kinds of films from all kinds of different directors, all from, like I said, the 1920s, 30s. And yeah, it's all silent films. And I just love the fact that we're getting more silent films in high definition, in some type of restoration work and all that kind of stuff. Because as the history, many of us know, a good portion of that era, like 70% or maybe even more of that era is just gone. So we got to preserve what we have left in that era. So that's something that's really piques my interest. So that was one that really caught my eye. But Stephen, we do have some other ones going around.
Well, I mean, real quick, does that pique your guys' interests? Indicator hasn't really delved into silent film yet, have they?
No, we haven't, and it's kind of forever on our mind, really. The question of whether that's somewhere we might go. I mean, there's no reason not to at all. There's so much work to be done in that space. One of the things I love about this, I mean, I don't know if it's true for all the films on the set, but I love the way that they've been scanned to 5K. I'm like, wow.
Whoa, yeah.
Is the new standard going to be 5 or maybe 6? I mean,
I didn't think they could do that.
Who keeps pushing the numbers up? God.
They're just arbitrary numbers now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's great. I guess that's a preservation move, in terms of creating kind of digital preservation assets, I suppose. I don't know. I mean, I haven't spoken to anyone at Kino or at the labs about this particular project, but I think it's a really exciting project, definitely. And having Hearts of Age, again, I've never seen, I don't even know if it's been possible to see it in any way, but that is definitely very exciting. Really interesting.
Yeah. I tried. You can actually find some of this stuff on YouTube. Like it's that out there. And it is very experimental. Like some of it's just images moving across the screen for 12 minutes. Like it's super out there. But that's part of it. I was saying this on another podcast. They asked me about this set, and I said, this was a time when people were still figuring out filmmaking. And figure out their voice and to see people doing things this weird and surreal at this time is cool. It's really cool.
And I think Kino has been really on the forefront of a lot of silent era stuff. They have the women filmmakers, pioneers in cinema set, which has a lot of early silent films, because women were actively making films in the silent era. And then it wasn't until like kind of the studios took over in the 1920s, and then the whole studio system kicked in, that they were all kind of moved aside, sadly. And I know they also have the pioneers set with African American cinema, which has a lot of early silent film era stuff as well. Of course, they have their stuff with Buster Keaton that they came out with years ago. I know Cohen, I know Eureka overseas has done a lot of Buster Keaton stuff.
Another big silent film.
A lot of Buster Keaton stuff. They just put out a couple of silent films, didn't they, Stephen, over this past...
The Cabinet...
the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari 4K. Talk about silent films.
I actually just ordered that thing. It's coming.
I know they put out... I can't remember. Is Vampire still a silent film? I always forget. Or it's right on that line. Yeah.
Or Dryer.
Yeah, they put out that set. I know that came out. But yes, that silent era is so rich. But yet again, I have no idea what it is, like who owns the rights to all of those things. I know a lot of them have fallen in public domain over the years, so that's why you can see them on YouTube in less than desirable quality, of course. But that whole era is just fascinating to me in terms of what was lost, what was saved, what is still around. What do we have access to, really, in some archive somewhere? So Silent Avant-Garde from Kino Classics. Keep your eye out for that.
For sure.
I think it's coming out in February. Yes, February. But Stephen, we do have some more, I wouldn't say modern day stuff, but more newer stuff. So
go for it.
Yeah, over speaking of, we were talking a little bit about Diabolic DVD. Cauldron Films is putting out a 4K UHD edition of City of the Living Dead, which is the Lucio Fulci film. And it's coming out in March, I believe. There's not a firm date on it, but this is a 3-disc set.
Actually, I think it's 4 discs.
It's a 4-disc set.
It's got a CD in there.
Yeah. Scroll down. I always forget to scroll down. I get too excited. There's massive amounts of new special features, as well as archival special features. There's a 4K restoration of the film. This is his Italian horror classic.
That's great.
Yeah, and I love the artwork on it. The artwork sells it in itself. I've seen the film. Steven, have you seen it?
I've seen it. It's been a minute. And honestly, when I see things, sometimes they escape my mind because we watch so many things.
Oh yeah,
I couldn't sit here and talk about City of the Dead, Living Dead. But John, is this one that is are you a fan of it?
When you see comments like gut spewing, brain smashing, and head drilling, you think that's right up my street. Yeah, that's just.
I guess I should stay up late at night and watch that one.
Yeah, you should. There's some great description in there. Yeah, there's obviously the audio commentary from Sam Dean, who has done some stuff with us. Yeah, no, it's one that I'll be delving into. Not over Christmas, maybe, but maybe
you got to find your time, Yeah.
I'm not sure it's the right film to put on Christmas Day lunch, but I'll get round to it.
I found Lucio Fulci always loved to deal with this within the supernatural. Like there's always like a hellgate opening up, and there's always like some magical demonic thing going on. And this movie is right in that wheelhouse. It's right in that wheelhouse. This is one that I don't know what it's been like this year, Stephen, but like we've gotten all like the re-releases from Arrow of all the Dario Argento stuff, and now it looks like we're maybe getting re-releases of Lucio Fulci stuff as well. Plenty of Italian horror to go around.
Collections. And then if you're Radiance Films coming out next year, they're Fran's all about some Italian, but more obscure Italian.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. The Italian comedies by Dino Risi. Which I'm really excited about. I've always talked about Il Paso as just like a great road comedy film that's just fantastic from the 1950s. I've always recommended that movie to people. But I guess staying in the kind of horror realm in that time frame, we are getting, Steve, I know we've talked about it for a little bit, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4K that's coming out. We're getting a release here in the States. I know we're waiting for the Second Sight announcement, really. We talked a little bit about it before.
With Philip Escott over there.
With Philip Escott, who was doing that documentary, that making of documentary about it.
And he's producing, I believe, that disc anyway. I mean, he's involved in that whole thing. So, but of course, this movie's been released 7,000 times.
Oh my goodness! I mean,
7,001 now.
Yeah, I know. Here's so another one.
There's so many. I mean, going back to probably Betamax. There's probably Betamax. It's been released so many times in so many different formats. I mean, just whatever the next format's going to be after this.
Every anniversary that you could come up with, like not even just the 35th or the 40th
anniversary.
but like the 30th, the 45th anniversary, the 42nd anniversary. Okay.
Yeah. This is being put up by MPI Media Group in association with Dark Sky Films. It is the 4K, like we've been saying. This is a 2-disc edition, and that documentary that we just talked about is on the second disc as a special feature.
That's good.
It contains the never before seen feature-length documentary, The Legacy of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And that, I believe that's Philip Escott's documentary.
Yes.
Disc 1 will have the movie, and it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Everyone, and this is like horror 101 at this point. Everyone knows about this movie. Every horror fan has probably seen this movie. If not, you have plenty of ways to see it.
Sorry to interrupt, Stephen, but from a technical point of view as well, it's fascinating because obviously it's shot 16 as well. So, in terms of taking that and putting that up to 4K, it's not the only title for which it's happened, but you could count them on one hand, and it's always interesting just to see just literally how that's transferred, how that's looking. I think I love that though. I love that that's not a barrier to doing the work. That's great.
Yeah, especially that HDR, like to see what the HDR is how the colors are gonna pop.
Yeah, I don't know how they got past that barrier, because for me the thing I always heard is that 35 millimeter and then higher like looks fantastic because it just translates well, but it was like the lower resolution, it's just gonna make it look worse because you're blowing it up and making the making it look
it's going to emphasize the grain even more.
Yeah, the grain for 60 millimeters, very grainy, and it's like, and that movie was shot very cheap, very much on the cheap side. And it's just like, I'm just curious what it's going to look like, because I know the Blu-ray looks fantastic. The ones that have been popping around for years look amazing. So that's a fascinating thing to watch, and it's scheduled to come out in February. So, I guess we'll see what that looks like when it comes out. But Steven, there's some Shout Factory releases which I know that you got to watch that I did not get to watch.
Oh yeah.
You got to watch what was it, Black Belt and Blood Fist? I mean,
some
alliteration there.
Don Wilson films from the late 80s into early 90s. Blood Fist is a film, came out in 89, great year. Year I was born, since if they don't know the joke.
I caught that.
But
I assumed it.
Yeah.
We have an inside joke where every time our birth year comes up in a movie, we have to comment on it. Just slide it into the conversation.
So Blood Fist, it's Don Wilson, and basically it's your other version of Bloodsport with Van Damme. Just their selling point is that this is more realistic. This is more like real fighting and not that super stylized fighting you saw in Bloodsport, where Van Damme's like doing splits and then kicking people in the nuts. So I mean, it's fine. I mean, the film's fine. Honestly, the other film, Black Belt, I enjoyed a little more, because what's funny about that movie is now you have to have the debate, because I realized this. The same year, guess what other movie came out? The Bodyguard with Kevin Costner, and they're almost the same plot.
Oh, wow.
They're both movies about a guy who is in some kind of either law enforcement or security, which Kevin Costner is, and they have to protect a musician. from a psychopath or some kind of somebody that's trying to threat their life. And that's the movies. I mean, of course they have there's various plot, things that are a little different, but that's the core of both of them movies. And they both came out in 1992. So the thing is, Black Belt came out first. So maybe they, like somebody's got something to answer for. I don't know, but it's fun. Now I have a fun double feature to watch The Bodyguard and Black Belt back to back.
Nice.
And Black Belt's not a bad. It's fun. I mean, it's fun. I think Don Wilson's a charismatic actor of Asian American actor at the time, and I always like seeing him popping in movies. And I believe I don't know if it was this film or it was Blood Fist that has like a huge franchise of it's 6 movies. I believe there's like 6 Blood Fist movies.
That's kind of interesting. I did not know about that. Well, it's kind of like last week how we talked about how the God of Gamblers has a massive franchise that I did not know existed with Chow Yun-fat. and I was like, this is very more intricate than I knew. It does say that Black Belt was produced by Roger Corman, or it says Roger Corman presents.
That's part of the problem with these particular releases is that the Roger Corman library is owned by Chow. And so they do these like just exclusive to the site releases, and then they go away, and you'd think that they would just produce
sell out.
Well, the thing is being that they own them outright, it's like, why don't they just produce a bunch of them so people can get as much as they want? But instead they kind of do Disney vault it.
Well, there's kind of like economics, like
sure, but
supply and demand.
These are cool titles though.
And
people love Roger Corman. They love Roger Corman stuff.
Oh yeah, he's a legend. An absolute
How do you feel about these titles in terms of them just being that feature trailer, nothing more? Do you, as enthusiasts, how does that strike you? Is that cool?
I think I wouldn't say I enjoyed both movies to an extent of like they're fun watches. I think as a collector, the collector's mindset, I think not only the Roger Corman aspect is interesting for people that maybe want to complete a Roger Corman produced type of thing, but also Don Wilson. He's an actor. I think we're starting to see a little bit more of his stuff coming out, and I think people will feel the need to want to get this, there are
a lot of martial arts action enthusiasts that will just scoop anything up. See if they see that, if that's their type of genre that they really, really like, they'll just kind of scoop it up. And I mean, there's a good chance that neither of these films have been in HD before. I mean, I have to put,
horror. What I'm learning through the Shelf Shock Rewind Awards and getting nominee submissions and things, horror and martial art genre, them two genres are peak popularity right now. That's what people love. Like they love them two genres to death, and want to get as much of it as possible. That's why companies like 88 Films and Eureka's doing a lot of martial arts stuff, and now you're seeing other companies trying to dip their toe in it more. Like Vinegar Syndrome started putting out a little bit of and I know they're doing more next year. And it's a popular genre, and it's there's a wealth of it to mine because of especially a lot of Chinese cinema is there's a wealth of it out there.
A lot. Well, the thing is, a lot of it hasn't been available really in high quality releases. I'm pretty sure they've been available on DVD for many years, but not like they are now. Now with these big deluxe box sets, like you're getting Shaw Brothers collections, and you're getting stuff from Golden Harvest's catalog, and all this kind of stuff. And it seems to be spread around, like depending on where you live in the world, different company tends to own it.
I was going to say, is Indicator ever thought about? I know you guys, you're not limited, so in the sense of where you're willing to go. So is that something you've thought about? Was going into more Chinese cinema or anything like that?
Well, it looks to us that there's a lot of people on the game on that already. So it just
it's tough.
I was just going to say that. It just seems like even in the UK right now, Eureka seems to own every right to that whole genre. Yes, madam. Actually, we're going to talk about that.
Between Eureka, Arrow, and 88, you kind of feel
they must have them all.
There's no need, if it's being looked after. Let it be looked after, I suppose I'm just intrigued from a kind of collecting point of view about something like Black Belt or or Blood Fist. To me, it's interesting strategically to put the film out with a trailer. I mean, was there an opportunity for an interesting box set? Maybe just to layer something on top, just to set the context a little more, or explore the films.
Yeah, maybe it's more. Obviously, you guys know, just to produce special features straight out of nothing is costly. Maybe it just wasn't. Maybe it's a cost-effective release.
I think for them, being that they own the catalog of Roger Corman, they looked at this as a look. And I'm not trying to badmouth Shot Factory, but I think this was an opportunity. They could make some money off of something that I think people will want to buy. And they didn't have to spend a lot to do it. And if
they only make a small quantity of it, cost
it makes it even more enticing for them for people to buy it when they limit it that much. I think it's only like 1,000 copies or something like that, maybe on each.
Oh yeah, 1,500 it says. Yeah,
1,500. Okay. Yeah. So when people that whole missing out thing, people don't want to miss out on something. So them will both sell out.
Oh
yeah.
And I think that it's a strategy, but I do, I agree with you. Like, I think they're, if they were wanting to really, for the consumer, it would be nice that maybe if they have the opportunity to maybe do a little bit more to this, maybe make it a box set, maybe a Don Wilson box set or something. I mean,
it could have even been a double feature.
Or a nice double feature. I mean, they just recently did it with the Sonny Chiba stuff. They put a nice Sonny Chiba volume out.
Box set. And they're putting out a Jackie Chan box set.
Well, they basically took everything that 88 did and put it in a box set in the US.
Set. I guess
it wasn't meant as a criticism as such. It's just to kind of sort of get the sense from you guys how that what your perspective
what's the consumer's mindset when it comes to a release like this.
Honestly, I think it's somewhat negative.
Well, to be honest,
just a little bit.
I don't know.
I mean, because I chatted about this with Ryan from Disconnected a couple nights ago, and I get the feeling that people are not super happy with these Roger Corman very limited drops that are just through their site, because they wish there was just a little bit more of an availability of something that is easy for them to put out, and that they limit it so much that it kind of bothers certain people.
I mean, the whole limited edition strategy is a very well. It's an age-old thing, but it seems to be increasingly at the forefront of the strategy of releasing. I mean, in world of music, limited vinyl, endless different colored vinyl, and so on. And so forth. So much so that I think there's something I picked up recently that was limited, hugely limited. I think 1,000 units for a band that's quite big, that was coming through rough trade. And I was just seeing a lot of people online and in the kind of secondhand space on Discogs, which is a site you may know, I don't know, but just kind of saying, man, I've had it with this. This is just stupid now. I mean, I think if something's just so limited and it means that your kind of consumer base is really having to fight to find it, or having to pay stupid money I know obviously our editions end up being quite costly on the secondhand market as and when they go out of print, but we're doing 3,000 or 5,000 or 6,000. I don't think we'd ever. I think there's an interesting question there about what it means to do so few of something, and apart from the fact that you could probably have sold more, which is a kind of commercial question. There's also a sort of almost philosophical question about kind of upsetting your consumer base as well. By pushing them too hard on the limited edition question. It's an interesting thing,
It is. I love the conversation, the strategies of each label. Each label kind of has their own strategy about how they want to present, how they want to sell, how they want to, do all that stuff. Some companies seamlessly don't ever run out of anything, and then others run out of things pretty fast. And then they, I think the ones that run out things pretty fast tend to be companies that put out a large volume of releases routinely, whether it be your Arrows or your Vinegar Syndromes or your, people that want to keep pumping out another 10 releases each month or, at a high quality. And they do. But it's the ones that have this quick turnover of releases each month are the ones that want you to buy it the fastest. And there's nothing wrong with that necessarily. We want to get as much discover as much new things as possible, but it does create it is a strategy, and it's something maybe we can bring you back and we can get just into that one day, and that would be a really fun, interesting, and probably
that seems like a whole
angry conversation. Could be a really angry conversation.
We could limit it to 100 minutes.
Yeah.
We'll make sure we put a cap on it and say like, okay, we're done.
Timer.
We're
Set
done.
A timer.
Because one of us might have a heart attack because we get so upset.
That's true.
But okay, so what's next for us? Let's get past the stuff.
We'll move past that and we'll go. This is actually, I'm really looking forward to this release, Stephen. This is from a relatively brand new label, Chameleon Films. They just had their first 3 releases come out. We were fortunate enough to do a review of those first 3 releases, and 2 out of 3 of those films were films directed by Johnny To, and then they're going right back to the Johnny To well with a double feature Blu-ray, I guess you could say, edition of Election and Election 2. These 2 like mid-2000 Chinese gangster films. And Steve, did you get to watch either of them?
I watched. Okay.
Did you watch the first one?
I say this all the time. My baby ruins everything.
Okay.
No, I watched most of the first movie, and
because I remember you told me that.
Yeah,
and I didn't know if you got to finish it.
Never got back around to finishing it. So, but I was enjoying it for what I was watching. Like you said, very much just a crime gangster kind of underground film. And as I've said before, Johnny To, he's just such a stylish director. I love the way he stages action. Even more so than somebody that's more popular like a John Woo. Honestly, I really love how Johnny To stages gunfights and things like that. He's just so, it's almost like a dance. It really not a slow motion dance like John Woo. John Woo likes to do a lot of slow motion, and Johnny To seems to just utilize like he does camera movement, but it's in such a smooth way that and just the editing selection is just amazing. Like I love what he does.
And it's interesting that you say that because both Election and Election 2 are kind of don't have they're not action gangster films. They're like more like dramatic political gangster films, if that makes sense. They're not, ironically, because I wouldn't consider even something like a Goodfellas an action gangster film. That's more about characters and situations and just
thematic stuff.
It is like a biopic, if you will. Like, for example, like the movie Exiled, which is a Johnny To film. This has more action in it than either Election or Election 2. That being said, when there is action in the movie, it is quite graphic. Quite graphic.
Well, I know you said the second film's like tremendously more graphic.
A sequence that is quite gruesome and they don't quite shy away from it either. I mean, they don't hide away from it, and it's like, wow, they really just did that in this movie. And I won't describe it, for people listening at home that are eating or whatever, because it's not pleasant. But when the movie gets violent, it gets graphically violent. And that seems to be Johnny To's thing, where some of the violence is quite graphic, but nothing out of the like gunplay and stuff like that, gun fu and whatnot. But yeah, they had put out Breaking News and Exiled in their first batch of films, and both of those I thought were really, really good. I know, Stephen, we both really liked Exiled a lot.
Yeah, Exiled's really good.
Yeah, Breaking News was also really, really good. But I'm excited to get this just because I know that these are 2 of his more well-known films. The one came out in 2005, and then the sequel came out in 2006, and it picks up pretty much right after the first one ends. So it's like a direct sequel. And Johnny To is just becoming a director that I really love a lot. When I discovered...
The floodgates are opening on him because, it started with that Throwdown release from Criterion.
The Criterion. That movie I still think is incredible. I recommend that to anybody.
Yeah. You guys aware of Johnny To? Anything you've seen?
Yeah, it just kind of reminds me of my days back in Tartan, releasing all those kind of so-called Asia Extreme titles movies. And, that whole moment. Yeah. I mean, I think in the sands of time, I've seen Election. I'm not super familiar with Johnny To's films, but I remember being really impressed. It's not kind of really in my wheelhouse, this stuff, but it's when I do see them, and when I was working on a whole bunch of Korean films and Japanese films back then, I used to just routinely be kind of bowled over again by the visuals, by the kind of the ballet of it, and just really great stuff. Just great to see this label. I have to admit I hadn't heard of Chameleon Films, but looking at their site, I love what they're doing with their packaging. I love how it all looks. Great focused selection.
Yeah, and they're primarily focusing on Asian cinema. I've been talking to James who's running that, and we're going to try to get him on sometime next year to talk about the label and how things have been going. And what I love about what he's doing so far is that he's being very communicative with the fan base. Like he gets on Twitter and he like asks questions like, "Would you guys like this? Is this?" He just recently was like, "Hey, do you guys really want slip covers?" And now he's going back and he's making slip covers for the original 3 releases and putting them out for set. He's keeping the consumers in mind. And
I do like that sense of transparency. I mean, I think that's more open with the boutique world. For the most part. Yeah, I mean, even with you guys at Indicator, when you had all of these late year delays and whatnot, you guys were very open about, and apologetic about, hey, we have to push these to January, but there's still something coming out in December, and then not announcing new stuff, and it makes us as consumers feel
like you're remembering us, that you're remembering we're out there.
Like they know we're waiting for their stuff, so it's like not leaving us in like hanging in a loop of like, hey,
it feels like the least we can do, because you just don't want to have to even say the words, but it just gets to a point where you go, yeah, that's the way it's going to be. Let's let everyone know. So yeah, I agree. It's good. It's a good thing to do. I know I appreciate it when if I'm waiting for something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I guess we can move on from Chameleon Films. I do want to, and then we're going to move now to, I guess, our first slate, you could say, Stephen. And that would be Eureka. Once again, Eureka always tends to release the same week as Arrow. Sometimes a day before, which makes my life a lot easier when I have to actually go and watch these movies. So they're releasing.
He acts like it's a job where he's like getting paid.
I
gotta go do this. Imagine
there are people who actually get paid to watch movies.
I know, it's amazing, right?
Lucky people.
That's son of a bitches.
But actually, this is fortuitous here, because they're putting out In the Line of Duty 3 and In the Line of Duty 4, because they've already announced that they're putting out, Yes Madam has already come out, which we just
as John showed us. You guys can't see it, but
Yes,
John showed us a visual representation.
I'm actually glad he showed it, because now it makes me want that release even more. So way to go, marketing.
Good job. Good job to sell another label stuff.
And I think Royal Warriors is coming out next month. It's either next month, and Yes Madam and Royal Warriors were then, they retroactively gone back and given those movies the titles of like In the Line of Duty and then In the Line of Duty 2, which not really their titles. None of these movies actually are connected to one another. They all just have like a thematic line of being like police officer or law enforcement based action movies. That's the thing with these movies.
Yeah.
And they're fun and awesome and entertaining.
And another thing to remember is of course 88's putting all these movies out.
Yes, I did want to mention that as well.
In a set, so
yeah, they do have a set coming out, I believe, in May. And in May, they haven't. The thing is with that is they haven't really listed all the special or any of the special features yet, so I couldn't compare the two when it comes to the Eureka set versus the 88 film set that we're getting here. But it's going to be different artwork, I can tell you that, and it's probably going to maybe be some different special features. I know that the Eureka titles, just looking at them, have at least 2 new commentaries and a new special like feature, and then some archive stuff. But obviously, they're Eureka releases, so they're going to be solid. And I do like how all of these slipcovers and all these covers are like, they have the same type of design to them. I have an OCD thing like that when it comes to my collection, where if it's a movies that are in some type of series or sequence, they got to match up on the shelf. They got to look close.
Sure.
That's why he's going to love Indicator. He loves Indicator because all your stuff looks so nice on the shelf next to each other.
Well, yeah, because I've got, you can line up all the ribbons. Well,
yeah.
If you want to. but they all have the writing going down the same side. They're all like color coded. It's all nice.
You guys better not mess that up. Don't mess that up.
You may run out of colors eventually. You may run out of colors. But that's something that I've always really liked. So In the Line of Duty, 3 and 4 are coming out, and those are coming out in March. I got to watch both of those. They are available out in streaming, and they're really cool films. They're both starring Cynthia Khan, so they kind of move from, I believe Michelle Yeoh was in the first 2 films, Stephen, if I remember.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah. And John seems to be a fan. Tell us, you a fan of these movies?
To be honest, I'm a bit like Sam. It's not really the kind of thing that I watch avidly. Give me, this is the one that I've always the Eurekas that they've just released that'll be more exciting to me than the martial arts, if I'm honest. So there's so much to watch these days. It is quite incredible. I don't know how we get the time to do it all, but I'm a big fan of the Eureka people. I think they do a fantastic job. And their packaging is a bit exceptional.
Oh yeah, but, I can't look at the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari now without thinking of Nicolas Cage, even though I think of Nicolas Cage a lot. I can't think of that movie without him now because of his new movie, Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, where that's all he talks about in that movie is his being his favorite movie. And I now I can't even see both without,
not thinking about it. Nice.
It could be worse. It's a hugely fun film. Yeah. But just back to these Eureka titles. I mean, they're just always doing the right thing by these movies, getting the original mono soundtracks, multiple cuts of In the Line of Duty 4, and just, some great extras on there as well. It's just, I love the attention to detail, and they've really, I know with some of the releases they've been putting out over the past couple of years, where they've had to go to source, correct audio or missing sequences or whatever, they've really left no stone unturned. So it's hugely impressive, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and like I said, there's this huge push now for martial arts films from the 70s and 80s that like we were just talking about what the consumer is thinking of, and that seems to be very much on people's minds because so much of it's coming out. Yeah. And so much of it's available regardless of where you live, whether you live in the UK, here in the US. If you want to buy both versions, if you can do it, then go right ahead and do it, because if you want all the special features.
Well, I think it's good. I think what you're, like I said, 88 films put out a set, but I do like when a company gives you the option to if you only like one film or maybe 2 of the films in the series, just there you go. You get the one you want, it gives you that option. And that's always good. I think that's what we do for our show here, is that we try to give a little bit, we try to, you try to watch as much as possible to give people a little bit of context with what they might be deciding to pay their money for. So it's like, it's important to give people the options. And I think that if you're not going to buy the whole set from maybe 88, this will be your a better option for you to kind of get, the film you want. So, yeah.
Yeah, nice. So that's 88. And I guess while we're in that realm, we'll go straight over. We'll stay in the same area and go to your Arrow. What do you say, Stephen?
Yeah, I can't. I'm not going to fight you. I mean,
okay.
I don't know what else to say. You're guiding the ship. I told you.
Yeah, that's very true. So Arrow does have its slate that came out on Friday, or Thursday actually, and it's an interesting slate. I think it's a solid slate, Stephen. So we've got some stuff here. We've got Richard Linklater's Boyhood getting a 4K UHD release from Arrow, and it actually comes with. This is important for people listening. We were just talking about special feature comparison. All of the special features on this release are different than the ones on the previous releases that have already come out. So if you have the Criterion or if you have the original Blu-ray release, that this is the one major difference. And of course, it's got a new, 4K remaster and all that kind of good stuff, and the HDR and whatnot. That's of course the upgrade there. But if the other stuff is good to point out as well. We also have the movie Black Sunday, which is a John Frankenheimer film from the 70s.
Previously, I think put out by Imprint. Had put a release of that in Blu-ray.
Okay, and then we've got a 4-film noir classics volume 2, because 5 years ago, they actually put out their own like a 4-film noir set, and this is, I guess, the long-awaited follow-up too.
I was gonna say they suddenly realized that everybody liked film noir,
yeah,
and
I
they
was just
decided
gonna say,
to do
they're
another
getting on that
set.
train now. Everybody's putting out film noir sets.
I was like, you're behind. Indicator put out like 20 of them, and Kino's put out like 20 of them.
Yeah,
and
Kino's went up to like 15, 16 of them now. I can't keep up.
Yeah.
I mean, and so
love film noir.
Next is a movie called The House That Screamed, which is kind of I think a 1970s, like almost Spanish giallo film. That's the way I described it. And then we were just talking about, you were just talking about a film. Eureka already put this movie out, Knockabout, which is directed by Sammo Hung from the 1970s. I think it's a really great film. So Arrow's putting out that in the U.S. So if you already have the Eureka release, you kind of already have the movie. And it's another one where I believe the special features are rather close to one another in terms of the comparison. So Stephen, where do you want to start?
Well, I was going to say, guys, John, what's interesting here for you?
Oh, so many. I tell you what, I do have to say that I thought he did.
John's getting up. He's going to go get something off the shelf.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to show you this one. This is how to release, a package of films, isn't it? I mean, this was just quite incredible. This stuff.
For those of you listening,
just amazing.
He's holding up Shawscope
I'm holding
Volume
up the Shawscope Volume 2. And 1 obviously has been, what they've done with that is just has just been incredible. I've not really had a chance to look at the new releases from them. Obviously, we know the guys at Arrow really well, but maybe Sam's, you've had a look at some of that stuff coming out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a particular. I don't know if this is a really controversial thing to say. I'm not a huge Linklater fan, so
man,
the Boyhood's coming out.
You're hurting my feelings.
I know. I'm here to do that. That's my whole.
That's fine. Well, that's what we love about you guys.
Yeah. I mean,
especially you, Sam. You're a straightforward. I know I can tell you're a straightforward guy, so that's fine. That's how
thank you for being honest.
There's so
that's
much
how you have
to
good
watch.
Conversations.
There's so much to watch, and I spend a lot of my time kind of going back in time. So I am a little bit neglectful of, and to call Boyhood new is obviously a bit of a stretch, but in my world, it's a kind of a new film. I've seen it. I liked it. There are other films that I would like to spend my time with. But having said that, I mean, Arrow never disappoints. So The House That Screamed, finally, to the best of my knowledge, I mean, I've got versions of it, but I think this may be the first official release. I possibly. Certainly, I'm looking forward to what they'll do with it. The restoration from the original Neg, all of those extras. I'm a Serador fan. Who Can Kill a Child is an incredible film. The House That Screamed isn't quite up there with it, but it's still really great.
Yeah,
really, really love it. Great, some great actors in there, John Mulder Brown and so on. So that I'm very interested in that and seeing some of the alternative footage. Black Sunday is a kind of good kind of filler movie, a nice kickback Sunday afternoon kind of affair. They look like they've put some nice things on there with that. The film noir, it excites me, of course.
Yeah.
See what they've done with some of the films. It's a kind of compliment to, it's a bunch of Universal titles. So it's a kind of compliment. And actually, they almost ended up with one of the titles that we put out in our Universal one as well. There was a little moment where we realized we both had the same film under license.
Like your hands both went.
Scenes.
Yeah. Yeah, I could just see both of you guys looking at something in an archive, and then both a representative and Indicator, one from Arrow, their both hands touch. They're like,
yeah.
That's fine. Yeah.
But they kind of made a very a quick shift and put something else in there, which is totally seamless and looks great. So those are the things that excite me: the Serador and the noirs, really, more than anything else. But there's always so much coming. That you can't fail to be excited month on month. Yeah,
most definitely. And look, we're going to talk good about Linklater here because Sam's not going to ruin my Linklater party. No, I'm just kidding. But I do. I mean, like, I have the Criterion. I don't know that I need to necessarily upgrade this. I know you said there's some new features. Maybe I'll be convinced once the release comes out that I'll have to get this. But
yeah, I understand.
I know
what you're saying.
me and Andrew are big Linklater fans. We love his work.
Yeah.
Back to things like Dazed and Confused, and
sure,
to me, the Before trilogy is
Before
really
trilogy. Yeah.
This is coming, I believe, with one of those limited deluxe editions, Steven. I don't know if that'll sway you.
Well, I mean, that always does, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess. You can sway Steven with some good looking stuff.
But Linklater is a filmmaker that I think he's always shooting on film. He's always not that 4K won't do this justice. This is like John Sam was talking about earlier. Some films lend better to getting that upgrade, and I don't know that this movie is one I need to go get like a 4K edition of. It's a drama about a young boy growing up throughout the years, and I don't know that that's something I really need to like go get the highest resolution version of.
I can understand
because it already looks good. It already looks good.
Yeah, I can understand that perspective. I mean, they did just release Martin Scorsese's Wolf of Wall Street in 4K. They had a big deluxe edition of that, and I don't know but for some reason, but for me, Martin Scorsese is way more stylish a director than Linklater is, aesthetically. Just the way he shoots his movies and all that kind of stuff. So it would lend more to that palette. You know what I mean? Like his world and whatnot. I just think of those two movies because they came out. I think didn't Wolf of Wall Street come out 2013, and then Boyhood was 2014, something like that.
I mean,
they're relatively
I'm
close
thinking
in the
about
same time frame.
Linklater films that need a 4K. Like, you guys gonna make fun of me. Where's the 4K of School of Rock? That's the one I want. That's the one I'll take.
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for a Blu-ray release of Me and Orson Welles. So,
I like that film. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, for an Orson Welles fan, it is a bit of a dream movie. Like, what happens if you all of a sudden you're back in the 1930s at the Mercury Theater with Orson Welles? Like, you just happen to be in that world, and Joseph Cotton's there, and Orson Welles is there, and everybody else is there, and it's always kind of, I guess, a dream of mine to go back in time if I had a time machine. But before we move on from Arrow, the 4 movies that are in that film noir set for anyone interested is The Suspect, The Sleeping City, Thunder on the Hill, and then Six Bridges to Cross. Most of the I know for a fact at least 2 out of 4 of these are in the Kino Lorber Studio Classics film noir sets. Thunder on the Hill is in Volume 2, and I believe Sleeping City is in Volume 3. Just because I have those, that's how I know.
Yeah.
That's how I know.
That's the tough thing about some of these noir sets.
Thing with film noir is that there is right now a lot of crossover between the stuff you guys have been doing, the stuff other people have been putting out, depending on where you are. So there's plenty of it to go around. I know the movie Universal Noir #1 that you guys just put out, the movie Abandoned, I think is in another set here somewhere.
Imprint. I know there was some crossover with some Imprint sets. Yeah.
I mean, and then of course, like you were just saying, Stephen, the Imprint sets have crossovers with your guys' stuff, and it's just like, it's like everybody's got it. I love the fact that film noirs got so much love now. It just like a few years ago, you couldn't find them. you can find the big heavy hitters, but a lot of the B noirs and lower noirs you really couldn't find decent quality. I mean, you could always find Double Indemnity out there. That was always available. Maltese Falcon always out there,
and now it's in 4K. So
I get very true, very true. But a solid slate from Arrow. If anybody,
I think so, really good.
If anybody's interested. So moving on from there, Stephen. Oh wow, where have we gone?
Tell us, Captain.
That's a good question. So we could go to Criterion, and I guess that would be our headlining slate of the show. Unless I missed something, which is very highly likely because it's just the way things roll with me. So let's move over to Criterion.
Well, I mean, there's Imprint. There's Imprint as well.
Oh, there's Imprint. So I guess we'll go Criterion, then Imprint. How's that? Okay. Because I already said Criterion. I don't want to go back on my word.
Yeah, now I can't go back now.
Yeah, so Criterion has 4 movies coming out in March.
Which seems small for them for some reason.
Small, but one of them, for me, and I think for a lot of people, is highly anticipated. So we've got Chilly Scenes of Winter, which is a film. Inland Empire by David Lynch. We were just talking about John Woo a little bit. The Last Hurrah of Chivalry is a John Woo film. And then Mildred Pierce is getting a 4K UHD upgrade. Stephen, we got to go to the highlight first. And that's Inland Empire.
Yeah, of course. Guys, Lynch fans here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so is Inland Empire one of the ones that you've been really excited about getting, or is this just a curiosity?
Inland Empire is great. I mean, I think any Lynch is all good by me. I mean, it's I'd like to see someone go deeper and find some of that kind of more obscure, the TV stuff, and I'd like to see all of that come out as well. That's great. I mean, zero complaints. Just very happy about seeing that for sure.
This is a big release, I think, for a lot of David Lynch fans, because if memory serves, the only Blu-ray of this came out in the UK in 2010 by Optimum. I believe it was Optimum Films. This is the only one that's been around for years. And I've known so many people that have imported it. And it's kind of like, when are we going to get our own version here? And it's just taken forever. And the reason being is, I mean, you guys can kind of maybe, say more about this, but the way in which this film was made was so unique. I believe it was shot in like standard definition DV cams back in the mid 2000s. There was an extensive work they had to do just to make this thing exist in HD in general. Just to get a 4K restoration, they had to really up-res it significantly, but not only up-res it, but really go back and work heavily to make it feasible. Because
I mean, this is the thing that makes the release very interesting. It's just, what is it going to look like? This is the question.
Because
whether that opens floodgates to all kinds of possibilities afterwards, in terms of the films, because at the start of 4K editions, it was fascinating to see a bunch of big Hollywood movies that were only ever finished at 2K. The special effects work in a lot of the Bonds, or you name it, was only ever finished in 2K. I didn't make it impossible for the rest of the movie to be scanned to 4K, but anything that was already finished at 2 could only be up-res. But this is a step beyond, isn't it? So it's very exciting, really, I think.
Yeah, we first kind of started talking about this with when we talked with Sean Baker about his film Takeout, where he also shot that film on video, and the process of having to scan it in to make a film element for it, to then put it in, scan that to make it 4K resolution. It's like God, like you said, what is it going to look like?
Yeah, when he was on, he said he had to do like frame by frame restoration on that movie, because he had shot it. What was it, Stephen? Like in the early 2000s, and standard def on the streets of New York, without permits, and just getting things while he could. And the movie takes place mostly at night and mostly indoors. And that's just that's harsh to light now, let alone on a small budget 20 years ago. And he was just talking about how painstakingly they had to restore that. And that movie's half the runtime of this movie. Yes, and this movie's 3 hours long. And not only is it 3 hours long, there's one of the special features on it is that there's like 75 minutes of like unused footage that like deleted scenes and stuff he didn't use. Wow, and I'm just like, how is that possible?
That's a lot.
That just incredible amount of work. I mean, I've been a big David Lynch fan for many, many years, and it's just his work has been very eye-opening for a lot of people. And this is a film that it's kind of been the one that's been missing from my collection. I have it on DVD, but it's not like this,
and that and The Straight Story, which finally got a
Blu-ray release. Yeah. A beautiful, stunning, completely different film from David Lynch.
Yeah,
but just mesmerizing in so many different ways. So Inland Empire is the highlight for me as a David Lynch fan. I mean, if anybody wants to get into David Lynch, I don't know quite where to tell you to start. Maybe Twin Peaks. It's a good place to start for a lot of people.
Maybe.
Even then,
Mulholland Drive.
Yeah.
Drive.
Yeah.
I started with. I
Start
think
at the
I started
beginning.
with.
Well, yeah, Racerhead, man. Yeah.
I think my start. I think my first ever David Lynch film was Blue Velvet.
Yeah, that's a
Oh,
good
wow.
place.
Yeah.
I think
That's where I started. I bought it on DVD. This was like 2006, 7, and I was like, oh, let me. Dennis Hopper's in this. I like Easy Rider. Let me just put it in and see what happens.
Yeah. And I think your second movie should always be Lost Highways.
I think my second movie was actually Mulholland Drive, actually. And then I was like, this movie's amazing. It's just stunning work. But moving on from the David Lynch Love Fest, Stephen, this is a film both of us got to see, and that Chilly Scenes of Winter by Joan Micklin Silver. And I know Joan Micklin Silver because some of her stuff has been getting released right now. Not a lot of it, but they just released, what was that film with Jerry Stiller and Ann Mira, Stephen? I'll look it up while you.
Yeah, why is he asking me?
Yeah, I don't know why.
But I can tell you, Chilly Scenes of Winter, very good. I really enjoyed watching it. I have this thing, even though I'm newly married. I'm in my almost third year marriage. I'm into these movies where I see marriages just fall apart or relationships fall apart.
Very reassuring.
Yeah.
Helps keep me on my toes. Yeah. And so this film has got the great late John Hurd, playing a man who's interested in this woman who has already dealt with a lot of relationship issues, and he's fallen in love with her, and he feels like she's fallen in love with him. But this is what is really cool about this movie is that it's kind of deconstructing that idea of, sometimes in relationships, you're just, even if you feel like you're perfect for each other, maybe it's just not the right time. That's how some relationships end up working out, that even if you feel really strongly about it, that maybe for the woman, it's just not the right time. She has a lot of things, it's not just about your feelings, it's about her feelings. And
the film definitely shows more from his perspective than hers. Yeah. And you just see, and you can tell there's an off balance there in terms of who has more invested in this romance, in this relationship. And it's clearly him, and it's him having to battle with, I guess, himself in that idea. Yeah. Sometimes you fall in too deep and deeper than the other person, and you just kind of drown yourself in a way, in emotion. And John Hurd,
expectations.
John Hurd's really good, really, really good.
Oh yeah,
film. And Joan Micklin Silver, who had the movie that I was talking about was Fish in the Bathtub with Ann Mira and Jerry Stiller, and a comedy of, once again, relationships, but it's on the other end of the perspective in that film, where Jerry Stiller and Ann Mira have been a couple that's been married for many, many years and decide to split up. And it's about them having to deal with that after so many years of being together and whatnot. It is played for comedy a lot because, they were a great comedic duo. But I found that movie to be really, really good.
What you could do after watching that movie is double feature it with that film Natural Enemies, where you see a man who wants to kill his whole family because he hates his life.
I have it right next to me. My goodness. The movie with Hal Holbrook and Louise Fletcher. One of the most pessimistic films I've ever seen. And just dire, like life has no meaning. Life is just.
And I loved it. I love that movie. It was a good movie. It was a good discovery from this year.
Yeah, that was just incredible film. If you're a pessimist at heart, that's the movie for you.
That's me.
Just to lighten the load. Guys, I'm going to have to split, but can I put a shout in for mentioning the Mondo Macabro Blu-ray of Don't Deliver Us.
Of course. Go for it, man. Yeah.
Just a great, quite controversial. Like, I know people have tried to release it in the UK, but there are some stuff in it that the BBFC just still doesn't like. But, I love Mondo Macabro. To me, their whole project is very, I feel a great sympathy with what they're doing, bringing these incredible.
I'm sorry, Sam, what was the release?
So the film is Don't Deliver Us from Evil.
Okay. Yeah.
It's 1971. They previously did it on a DVD many, many moons ago, but they're bringing that through as one of their new Blu-rays with some nice new extras, new restoration of the film. If you don't know the film, it's really worth checking out. It's really an extraordinary movie.
Great.
But just great to see Mondo Macabro just still doing what they've always done. And in a way, they feel like, to me, they're just impervious to the market. They just keep plowing the furrow.
Yeah.
I just really admire the work that those guys do. So that would be my top tip of recent announcements.
Yeah, and I'm actually talking with Jared over there to try to get him on early next year to talk about, of course, Mondo Macabro, but also that new Bollywood set coming out is something I'm really interested in. But yeah, Sam, thank you for joining. John Deere, you sticking around, or you got to jump out too?
Yeah, no, I've got to shoot as well. Yeah,
okay.
Unfortunately, but
no problem.
It's been great to do it.
Thanks, guys.
It's been a while since we did the last one.
Yeah, and we got you on twice in a year. That's amazing. Honestly, I feel like
thank you for coming on once again.
It's a pleasure. It's been really great, really good.
Yeah, beginning of the year and end of the year is a nice kind of circular thing.
Yeah. And John, any last words?
Last word. Well, yeah. I mean, as you go through, it's interesting. As you go through all these releases, chilly scenes of winter. I actually want to see that film now. I don't know the film at all, but it's great to see so much still varied product, and obviously a David Lynch coming out. That hasn't been on, not been on the kind of Blu-ray format of, with the extras of 75 minutes. This industry is just great, isn't it? It's the industry that keeps giving. We're very lucky in a way. We see a lot of fantastic movies, and everybody's putting them in some great formats and putting some great extras together. And so, long may it continue. It's finally a year for a stranger. It will be a different year for us next year. We're into different areas of the business, the UHD, of course. So let's hope we can talk in great depth about that when we do our next podcast with you.
Yeah, definitely. At any time, maybe midway through the next year, maybe we can hook back up and talk, see where we're at again. And and I'm sure some more exciting stuff's coming soon. So, but like I said, thank you guys for joining us again. Thanks for giving us your time. And please, everybody go over to Powerhouse Films or anywhere you can find Indicator releases. Look at their catalog. A lot of good stuff in there, and a lot more good stuff to come. Stuff that Sam's already spilled some beans on. So thanks, guys, and please have a good rest of your day and a good holiday.
And you get some sleep.
Same to you.
And enjoy your Christmas too.
I appreciet that, Sam, but I don't think it's going to happen for a while.
It's too late.
It's too late. I'm up now. So
he's got this. Cinema's coursing through his veins.
It's got me going. I'm good. I'm awake for the day. And
Yeah, good man.
All right, guys. Thanks again.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for your enthusiasm. Take care. Bye now.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
All right. Well, there's John and Sam, John Morrissey, Sam Dunn from Indicator Powerhouse. They're just always awesome, man.
Great to have them.
And they're always so game to talk. They want to talk the Blu-rays with us. And I love that, man.
It's great to have them on. Great to get a little insight into what's been going on with them this year. Like I said, it's been a heck of a year for them over there, like with the whole expansion internationally, setting up shop here in the U.S., plus, of course, shipping all the world away, and then the way the economy's been going and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we've got a little bit of an update on Michael. We kind of know now that push with the Michael J. Murphy set is definitely the last push. We know that that's coming out, should be hitting that deadline of the January release. So,
we talked about that set when it was first announced. Yeah, and we understood. I think both of us understood that this is probably their most ambitious release.
Well, that's what Michael Brook told us. Yeah, Michael Brook told us that this was the most ambitious set.
Yeah, it's massive set. Like there's tons and tons of movies and extra features and all kinds of stuff. And it's not exactly easy to probably get all that stuff together and what condition all that stuff is in and get that up to a level that you want it to be at for a release that people are going to be plucking down some serious cash on.
Yeah, and them guys are super detail oriented. Like they don't want to make a mistake. They don't want something going out that isn't exactly what they are trying to put out. Like he was just talking about the stock of paper for their booklets. Like he's like, I don't want to skimp on that because we want this to always be top notch
quality. Top notch quality release. Speaking of which, let's get back into what we're talking about Criterion. So we talked pretty extensively about Chilly Scenes of Winter. Both of us seem to really, really like the film a lot.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. It's good.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad. This is actually a brand new entry into Criterion. It's actually Joan Micklin Silver's first film in the collection in general. Yeah, this is a director I would definitely keep my eye on, because like I said, all her stuff is starting to get released, and and her stuff is really, really good. There's a few of her films that have already gotten released from other companies. One film that I really want to get released is Crossing Delancey, which she did in 1988. And that film also, I believe, has Peter Riegert in it, and Peter Riegert was in this film as well. He plays like that friend who's kind of like staying with John Hurt, and he's just, I wouldn't say mooching off of him, but he's just kind of like hanging around. He's just kind of like that friend that just like hangs around and whatnot. And there was one point in the movie where he, John Hurt asks him to do something, and he ends up not doing it. And, He sends him off for groceries, and he just ends up buying a bunch of alcohol.
He's a character actor that has popped into a lot of movies over the years.
If you were the same age as us, he was in The Mask.
Wasn't he? He was in wasn't he in Harry Met Sally?
Peter Riegert.
I feel like maybe I'm thinking of the wrong.
Crystal?
He's in the movie too, but isn't he the one that is dating the friend, Carrie Fisher's character in that movie?
I think you may be right. I'm scrolling down his filmography now, but he's like I was saying, in Jim Carrey's The Mask, he's the cop in it. Mitch Calloway. He's the one who's trying to figure out what the heck's going on in that movie. I don't see.
Maybe I'm not thinking of
Sally. No.
No, okay, never mind. I'm thinking of something else.
I'm looking nothing. I'm trying to find it.
But I know that I've seen you see this guy pop up in tons of stuff.
Yeah, he was he was already in another Criterion movie, Local Hero, the Bill Forsythe film. He was in.
Yeah, I got that. I have that movie.
I think I have it as well. Actually, another. It's kind of an underrated release from.
It's a part of that genre of small town, charming comedy movie.
Right.
Yeah.
But yes, that's Chilly Scenes of Winter.
I watching this movie, and I feel like with a lot of the releases lately, there's tons of these movies about marriages and things. I want to start a letterbox of the best movies about marriage, or movies about relationships. I guess this. I keep saying marriage. This isn't a movie about marriage. It's a movie about a relationship.
Right.
It just feels like a marriage because of how the attitude is towards their dynamic.
Well, ironically, I think John Hurt treats the relationship as if it's as serious as a marriage.
Exactly. Yeah.
As if it is a marriage. And what is interesting about the film is that they're a couple that's only together for a year. But the way he describes it, it's as if he's been with this woman for a long time.
Well, it's because it's the way the story's structured. It's in a flashback form where he's not only, and this is part of the coolness of the movie, is that there's a little bit of a fourth wall breaking going on where it's his present, I guess,
too.
Present time. And then he's talking about this relationship, like they were together, and that he's going back and reminiscing on trying to figure out what went wrong and how it went down. And it's all, of course, from his perspective. So it's all one-sided to where it seems like she's got something wrong with her. What's going on? Why did she not want to be with me?
She has this whole other history with this other person and we don't really learn a lot about that.
Yeah.
And in a way, it seems as if the John Hurt character doesn't learn a lot about it, or if he does, he kind of ignores it.
Yeah, exactly.
There are very many sequences in the movie where he's approaching her as if there's still something there, as if there's still a relationship going on. And I'm like, interesting, because it's something I'm pretty sure that happens today in modern day relationships. And this movie came out the early 1980s.
Yeah.
So it's simply 1979. It's even earlier than I thought. But yeah, there's a lot of good contemporary stuff in there. And I dig it. I really like the cover as well.
Oh yeah, it's great artwork.
And we didn't get to cover this when we talked about the Arrow releases, but our friend and couple of time guest on here, Scott Sazlo, working on some of those releases.
Yeah.
The 4-film noir set, I think he ended up designing that whole package.
The layout of it. And,
yeah, he did. It says here he designed the entire package, and that the lobby cards in it are his artwork.
Okay.
No, the mini posters in it are his artwork. That's what he said.
Okay.
So that I just wanted to make sure to go back and say that before I forgot.
Awesome.
Yeah. So the other releases here, you've got The Last Hurrah for Chivalry. And this is a John Woo film, but this is not like John Woo, like you know John Woo. This isn't like The Killer. This isn't like a Face Off or anything like that. This isn't like anything like you know him for. This is 1979 John Woo, when he was, I believe, working for like Golden Harvest and stuff like that. And
he hadn't discovered doves yet.
No, and he hadn't. he hadn't discovered Nick Cage and his.
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking, even before Nick Cage came into the picture, the doves were a thing.
He was rocking doves.
The doves were flying everywhere in his
this
scenes.
This isn't hard boiled with all the great, the gun fu action and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Or even A Better Tomorrow. A Better Tomorrow, I would say this is a movie that needs a Blu-ray release. It's a movie that came out in 1986, starring Chow Yun-fat. And it needs it. I can't say that enough.
Hey guys,
it needs a Blu-ray release. Come on now, someone do it.
It needs it.
With all this stuff that's coming out from like the 70s and 80s, like give me my A Better Tomorrow Blu-ray release. There's a scene in that movie that mimics a shot or a sequence in Martin Scorsese's Mean Streets.
Okay.
But it ends up twisting it into an action sequence. But it starts out as an homage to a scene in Mean Streets. I always remember that.
Awesome.
But Last Hurrah for Chivalry is a movie that I surprisingly have already seen, but I didn't remember I had seen it until I looked it up on Letterboxd. And I guess I must have watched it for some reason. I don't know if it was to do with the show or if it was just out there, but I believe it is streaming on the Criterion channel right now. And that's obviously, as of right now,
another reason to be a subscriber.
It could go away tomorrow. With the way streaming is right now, things can be gone here today, gone tomorrow, instantly. So Last Hurrah for Chivalry.
I think that's going to probably be a sneaky popular one because John Woo's a very known commodity when it comes to Chinese directors, and I think that will probably be a popular one.
Yes.
But
it's interesting because you don't see Criterion, delve into the martial arts field that often. We get a lot of Japanese samurai stuff.
We've seen a lot of Japanese. We've started to see more, like Dragon Inn.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Dragon Inn and the other film as well.
Lady Snowblood stuff.
That's Japanese, like,
samurai
fine,
stuff. Whatever. Correct me, fine.
Yeah, there's the other film that the same director of the China Inn did, and I gotta look it up.
Isn't it?
It's The Last Something.
Oh man,
no, this is great.
Great podcasting.
Great podcasting.
I can't look it up because I can't get on a computer.
Yeah, what sucks is that I keep typing in China Inn to IMDb and it's
Dragon Inn, damn it.
Dragon Inn. Yes, thank you. I keep typing into it. Also, I didn't say this, but I didn't tell you this, Stephen. But every day at 6 a.m. the Blu-ray.com shuts off. So in the middle of the show, for anybody listening, I had to do it on the fly because it was just every day they shut off for a half hour or 20 minutes. I guess just reboot the site every day.
Really?
So it's 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So anybody who's on Blu-ray.com at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's not going to work.
Is that what time it is? Because I don't know what time it is.
Yeah, it is 6:30 right now. For anybody paying attention. But the director is King Hu did Dragon Inn, and then the movie A Touch of Zen is the other film that Criterion has put out.
That
movie came out after Dragon Inn. and those are two Chinese like martial arts films.
Yeah, and then if you want to count, like, they put out the Jackie Chan set.
They put out the Jackie Chan set. Yes, I'm looking at it right now. I was actually thinking about it the other day. I still have to watch, delve into all that stuff.
And that Once Upon a Time in China.
Yes.
So they've been delving into it.
They
lately.
also have put out the Police Story set as well, which is once again Jackie.
Well, that's what I was talking about. The Jackie Chan.
The Jackie.
Police.
Yeah, I was thinking of the Bruce Lee set.
Yeah. Well, there's that too. There's that too.
Yeah. So
they've been doing it.
Yeah, they have been doing it. So the last hurrah for chivalry, the synopsis is: a son tries to avenge his father and gets two sword fighters to help him. That's a loose description of the film. But yeah, this is a cool release. I love the cover. The cover looks astonishing.
Yeah.
The cover is, it's just
what's our artist? You don't know the artist?
Art.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I know the artist. It says new cover designed and illustrated by Alphaville. Must be a pseudonym. Okay. Unless someone's name is Alphaville, that would be really, really.
That
cool.
would be like the musician Seal. Seal Alphaville. Sure.
I don't think is that his real name. I know Prince's real name was Prince, but
I think Seal might have changed his name to Seal.
I don't think Sting. I don't think that's his real name.
Sting's now. I don't think he changed his name to Sting.
No, but you know what Stings? A little film noir. Well, it stings the people who are in it, and
usually,
and that is Michael Curtiz's film. Mildred Pierce is, like I said, is getting the 4K UHD
good
upgrade. Good transition. And this film is a quintessential noir, starring the great Joan Crawford, directed by Michael Curtiz. Once again, he never stopped working. Stopped working.
We make the joke that he just pops up everywhere. He's literally
he does. It's like everybody must have one Michael Curtiz in their catalog because he's worked so many. I know he worked a ton at Warner Brothers. That Warner Archive stuff, pump that stuff out. But this is a melodrama noir film, starring the great legendary Joan Crawford, and she plays Mildred Pierce. And man, this is an incredible film. I can't really. You have to see it if you're a film noir fan, if you're a classic film fan, if you're a Joan Crawford fan, you've got to see this movie.
It has a dark
film.
Yeah, it has an opening comparable to, I feel like, Citizen Kane, where it starts off like just really super interesting, like just pops you right into it. Where in Citizen Kane you start off and you see Charles Foster Kane, dying, and he says Rosebud. Well, in this one, you see some dude get shot, and then he falls to the ground. He says,
it has the framework of where the movie starts at the end, and then you flash back to the beginning, and you get the long journey all the way up to where we started from.
Yeah.
And you see Mildred and her life, and she has a daughter, and you see their relationship, and just how contentious it can be to have a child, Stephen. Which of course goes with everything.
You know how I talked about that one movie from Canadian International Pictures where that one kid from that. What's the movie?
Oh yes,
something with hands in the title. I'm blanking
on
it.
Look it up while you. Big time.
That movie from Canadian International Pictures. That kid in that movie was super annoying. Okay.
Yes.
I thought he was bad.
Nobody waved goodbye.
Yeah, nobody waved goodbye. Something with hands waving. I got it. But in that movie, that young kid, is super annoying. Okay, so the girl and the daughter in Mildred Pierce, one of the, just douchiest,
played by
child characters ever. She is just so ungrateful, and you don't and it really makes you not want to have kids because you don't really understand where it came from, because the example that Mildred has for her daughter in this movie, which is, a really hardworking mom who's trying to make something of herself, you'd think would be
trying
enough.
To make a good life for their child, which a lot of parents do.
Yeah, well, you'd think it would be a good impression on her and make her want to be like that, but instead she's super just.
Yeah, you got to see the way I'm going to read this the way to describe it because it describes her so well. It says. Yeah, it goes through what she does to kind of, make a better life for her daughter. She is a little bit of minor spoiler. She starts a restaurant and becomes successful.
Yeah.
But her daughter is the ungrateful of her materialistic firstborn. A diabolical Anne Blythe becomes a venomous serpent's tooth, setting in motion an endless cycle of desperate overtures and heartless recriminations. My goodness, that's
Jesus.
a
lot
PhD
of lot
level
of five lot of $10 words in there.
Yeah, basically becomes a very spiteful, very angry, very selfish child.
Yeah.
And you learn why and whatnot, and it's a dark movie, but yet again, it's the film noir. It came out during that perfect era of 1945, right in the middle of it, black and white. It's gonna look amazing in 4K. Got a new 4K digital transfer.
I am happy with my Blu-ray.
I am too. Like, this is not one that I'm going to grab right away. It's coming out in March. It could be something you may get at the July Barnes & Noble sale.
Once again, this is prime for somebody that doesn't own it.
Very much so.
But
yes.
This does not come with new extra features, and that's, I would say, one of the knocks. People are having
these re-releases. Yes,
these re-releases. They're not adding anything except for just the restoration or the remaster.
Yes.
And that's not it. Like I said, this is for people that don't own it.
Could be enough. I know it's enough for me on something like the Red Shoes, which I had to buy.
That might be a special exception because it is such a gorgeously a visually stunning film.
It's going to look incredible in 4K. But moving on from there, I guess we'll move to our last slate. And I was just talking about how Blu-ray.com kind of crashes on you at 6 a.m. It was actually doing it throughout the show. I don't know why. But I got to get, ViaVision back up, because ViaVision decided to drop this week as well with a handful of titles.
I think it's six titles.
Yeah, March. Luckily, it didn't come with a box set. No box set this time. But we do have a few titles. We have Little Buddha, The House of the Spirits, I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. That seems to be our theme of the show.
Seems to be the theme today. Yep.
Jacob's Ladder, Georgia, and Return to Paradise. These are all coming out in March.
My birthday month.
Nice,
so if anybody wants to get me anything,
hint, hint. But yeah, so I got to see a good number of these. I actually saw Little Buddha, I think back in high school in a religion class, because it deals with Buddhism, shockingly so. And so I haven't seen it in a very long time. Jacob's Ladder is something I saw many years ago as well.
Oh yeah. That's Tim Robbins in that movie.
That's
puts on a great performance.
The movie directed by Adrian Lin. No real info on whether this is a new transfer or anything like that. Because this movie's been out on Blu-ray for quite a while.
I would assume it's probably just like a port over master, highest quality master.
Yeah, I don't even think there's any new features on it either.
Yeah,
I think it's all kind of maybe just them releasing the movie. In general, I don't think it's anything.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I really, really like. Came out in 1990.
So they're the ones that kind of set the stage for that kind of horrific image of people that move their faces around really fast. That kind of effect. You see a lot of other movies kind of mimic that later after this movie came out. It's a creepy image.
It's a movie that I kind of don't want to describe to people because there is a bit of a twist in it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to, spoil anything like that for anyone. I'm not even going to say I'm not even going to describe the movie. I'll just say it stars Tim Robbins.
Don't do it.
It's good. Adrian Lin was doing his thing at the time. I always bring up Adrian Lin with all of his like erotic thrillers. This one is not one of those. It's not. It's more.
This might be his best. This might be his best movie. That's not an erotic thriller.
Right. Original Blu-ray of this was put out by Lionsgate and came out in 2010. And I'm pretty sure they've just been reissuing that same disc a couple of times over now. At least here they had. So that's Jacob's Ladder. I did get to see I'll Sleep When I'm Dead.
Me too.
And you did as well. This film stars Clive Owen as well as, I think, was it Jonathan Rhys-Meyers is in the film?
Yes.
Yeah, and I'll Sleep When I'm Dead is kind of a gangster revenge film.
Yeah. It's a very slow moving one, I can tell you that.
Incredibly slow, much slower than I was expecting. And this isn't like a John Wick. This isn't anything where you're going to get an action revenge film. This is much slower than that, much more dramatic than that.
Maybe a little bit to its detriment in this case.
In a way, yes. especially when you start getting closer and closer to a third act climax that never really quite happens.
Yeah.
Something does happen, but it doesn't quite live up to, I guess you could say, the slow build up to it. The film stars Clive Owen, who back in the 2000s, I say this all the time, the man was just on the rise. He was just on the rise. This is directed by Mike Hodges, who directed the Get Carter film starring Michael Caine back in the 70s. And this film actually has a very similar premise, coincidentally.
Yeah.
So Clive Owen plays a former gangster who comes back into the criminal world because his brother has died in a suspicious way, and he's trying to figure out what happened. And that kind of is the premise of the movie. And what is interesting is that Mike Hodges does a little bit of Alfred Hitchcock type thing where we see what happens as an audience member, and we're kind of just then watching the people in the movie figure out on their own what happened.
Yeah.
So we get the insight before they do. It's a little old Hitchcock thing, but I thought it was good.
It's fine.
Like I said, it does kind of fall apart, I think, towards the end a bit.
Honestly, I'm kind of surprised this didn't maybe fall into one of their neo-noir sets, because I feel like this kind of could fit in one of them sets. And
it did come out in 2003, so it does fit in that time frame.
And I feel like, and I'm not trying to like completely knock this movie, but a lot of times movies like this can find their way into a set, and you could sell this movie better in a set because maybe it's questionably good or not good, like it's and people will discover it better in a set because they maybe bought it for that set for another reason, but then this was in there
and then it just happens to be in there. I mean, I think there are a lot of imprint completists out there who are probably just going to scoop it up no matter what, because their stuff is selling out fast. I would say, their stuff sells out fast. Titles that I didn't think would ever sell out end up selling out. So another couple of stars in this film is Charlotte Rampling as well as Malcolm McDowell.
Yep. Good cast.
Yeah, and he also directed the film. Remember that film Croupier?
Oh yeah. Well, I was gonna say it just got released on Arrow from Arrow.
Yeah. And that was also in that 2000s Clive Owen era, where he was just in everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're getting a little bit of a Clive Owen thing going here, which is cool.
A revival,
because there's some movies of his that I would like to see maybe get an upgrade. There's a movie he did. I can't remember when. It might have been like late 2000s. Like it's called The Boys Are Back.
Okay.
That was a nice little drama film about him being like a single dad. That was really good. That I think gets underlooked. So he's got some films, I think, and I know Shoot 'Em Up, I think just got a 4K, which is kind of
I think that may have had I remember when that movie came out, 2007. I was in college.
Yeah, Shoot 'Em Up
was the film he did right after Children of Men. What a shift! A shift! He was in good gracious.
He's still making stuff. He's still doing stuff. He's just, he's become
he's just in much smaller things now.
Yeah, which I think it sounds like he prefers that. I feel like he's a guy that is an independent actor that wants to be challenged as an actor.
Yeah, he's also doing like television work and whatnot.
Yeah. I would have loved to have seen him be James Bond if he would have been introduced to it at the right age.
If he and Daniel Craig were like auditioned for it at the same time.
Probably.
Because Casino Royale came out in 2006, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it would have been that time. I mean, Daniel Craig was. I mean, just to say this, he was no one. No one knew.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in Munich. That was about. He was in Munich.
I'm pretty sure.
Cake.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Clive Owen was probably in the running, but didn't quite get it.
I think Clive Owen may have been more well known than Daniel Craig at the time.
Maybe,
if I'm being honest. And I'm just speaking out loud at 6:43 in the morning.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does seem possible. But a movie that did you get to see the movie Georgia, Stephen?
I did not. I know it's pretty accessible to watch. Yeah.
Yes. The movie stars Jennifer Jason Leigh, came out in I think 1995, I believe. And it's a movie that it's about so Jennifer Jason Leigh plays somebody who her older sister is a really like popular country western singer, like really well known, really successful, and she's trying to somehow like follow in her footsteps but also do her own thing when it comes to music, and she's not quite as talented as her sister. She has a different vibe going on, but she also unfortunately has alcohol and drug problems, and that's also something that holds her back as well. So we see her kind of go on this kind of loose plotted journey of her dealing with that and dealing with kind of a rough and tumultuous life because of all of those things and just kind of the way she is. The movie stars Jennifer Jason Leigh, Mayor Winningham, Ted Levine is in the film, who was Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs, and he was also in Heat. But a much different role in this movie, I can tell you that. He plays like a very supportive, like husband character. But I found myself really, really liking the movie. It's a good film, not great film. Jennifer Jason Leigh, I thought, was really good in the movie. She really carries it. That's what really makes the film work. But it is a little cliched in its, kind of, story and her dealing with her drug struggles and whatnot. But it's directed by the guy named Ulu Grausbard, who directed the movie Straight Time, which starred Dustin Hoffman, that came out in I think 1978. It was put out by Warner Archive.
Yeah,
that's a great.
Where
movie.
he was recently released from jail, from prison, and then
he tries to go straight, but then he ends up falling back into.
I believe I have that. I believe I have that release. It's good. Good movie.
Steven. Yeah. Great. It's a really good release from Warner Archive. I really dug that movie, and the movie that both of us, I think, got to see is Return to Paradise, which is a bit of a tricky fake title.
Yeah,
so, this movie came out. So this came out in 1998, and it's
got a sarcasm to that title.
Sarcastic title, starring Vince Vaughn, Anne Heche, Joaquin Phoenix, a very young Vera Farmiga's in the movie.
Yeah,
I don't know if you caught that, but this is a movie where the premise is a little outlandish, but you just kind of got to go with it. So what happens is Vince Vaughn's character and his other friend and Joaquin Phoenix are all on vacation in Malaysia, and Vince Vaughn and his friend leave. But what ends up happening is the Joaquin Phoenix character ends up being put in prison because they catch him with drugs that they had all bought together because they were young and they were vacationing in Malaysia. Think of like a spring break type situation, I guess. I don't know. And so what happens is I guess Anne Heche's character works out a deal with the local authorities that if these two guys come back to Malaysia and admit that they were part of acquiring the drugs and whatnot, they would serve 3-year prison sentences apiece, and I guess their friend, his sentence is going to be reduced from like the death penalty to just serving time in prison, which is a hell of a come down in terms of sentencing. So the movie's them like trying to decide whether they want to do that or not. Yeah,
it's a moral quandary, of trying to figure out. It kind of made me think about, and I know this is a vastly better movie in quality, and that's High and Low. From Akira Kurosawa, where we're set a scenario set up where there's a very big moral obstacle that has to be made for the main characters. Yes. And that's what happens in this film, where they, of course, don't want to nobody wants to go to prison, especially in another country.
Not in Malaysia, no. I don't want to go to prison anywhere, let alone
another
Malaysia.
Country. I'm not really aware of how it is over there. And so, but then of course you have this sense of feeling responsible, and you're knowing that your friend is stuck somewhere and you can do something about it.
Yeah, to make it to save them essentially.
Yeah.
This is another film where what's kind of like the other film we were just talking about, I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. I think that was the title of it. I felt like the movie kind of fell apart in its third act.
A little bit.
Yeah, I think once you kind of got to that third act climax, things kind of fell apart a little bit for me personally. Even the lead up getting there, things were starting to come a little undone for me. There was kind of a forced romance going on in the movie between Anne Heche and Vince Vaughn, I think.
I think that's the weakest part of the movie is the need to have that.
Nowhere was so unnecessary. It was
but I think the point of it was to create another
reason, I guess.
Another obstacle for Vince Vaughn's character to have like a hard for him to make a decision. And of course the other person involved, the other friend, feeling and saying, hey, you're only making this decision because of her. You can't trust her. It was just another way to give reasons to make this decision even harder. And ultimately, we don't want to give away the whole movie.
Yeah,
but
I don't want to give away the whole movie. I felt like that was a little forced and
a little bit. Yeah. I do think though that the way this movie plays out is very realistic personally from things that I've seen in the news. Even the scenario is something very believable where, there's a culture clash. In this country, in the US, drugs are taken very seriously as well. Like people have gone to jail for just being, having many people. So some people are in jail for just having some marijuana. Yeah. And nowadays it's small amount. And now it's being kind of slowly decriminalized and people don't get just thrown in jail for having some weed. So it's like you can, see another country enforcing that a lot harder. And that's how it is in this film. And almost just being out of their hands. Like, it's like, what do you do when it's a whole other country's law that doesn't match, and to make a harsh, action as killing somebody for just having a little bit of drugs is crazy to us, but to them it's taken very seriously. And it's like, I could see that happening. I mean, we've recently had in the news that female basketball player over in Russia. They finally, I think, are getting her out with a trade.
She's back here now.
Yeah. And what they had to do was do a prisoner trade.
Yeah.
And give up a Russian prisoner to get her back. And it's like, things like this happen. Like it's,
yeah, they do. That's why I think traveling to any other country, you got to be really aware of things there. I think more so than a lot of people are. You hear all kind of horror stories about bad things happening to tourists in Europe, in South America, here. Even here, tourism is a dangerous thing anywhere, really. And you just have to be really careful and really aware of things. I mean,
don't go too far out of your comfort zone when you go to another country because.
Yeah, I mean, I see. Yeah. You always see the people going to spring break, and that's why I mentioned the spring break things. I just think young people going to foreign countries to party, and I just think of spring break. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's just like, how many stories do you hear about? Or
as
in prison, or
as James Franco
robbed or hurt or dead.
Or as James Franco says, spring
break forever. I mean, that's Florida, which is a whole other story in and of itself. But yeah, Return to Paradise, which is not, the idea. It's not really paradise in this movie. It's kind of hell on earth, really.
I mean, Malaysia is beautiful, but not the part of Malaysia that they end up going to.
No, not prison. Prison anywhere, I think, is just terrible and harsh.
Come on, man! You've never been there. You don't know.
No,
people are getting educations in prisons now. They're getting, no, I'm just kidding. Well, I'm just fucking.
Yeah, I mean, don't commit crimes, people. That can get you there.
I feel like that episode of The Office where that guy the new employee in the office has been to jail, and he talks about how it was. Michael Scott's trying to make sure that people understand that prison's terrible, and he's just like, my time in prison wasn't that bad. He's like, and he's like, Michael Scott's like, no, prison's awful. And he wears the bandana and shit.
This is when he drops that line, like the worst part of prison is the Dementors or something.
Yeah. This is the Dementors, they come out at night and they get you. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was. Oh, was that season 3? I believe that was
it was in a later season, I believe.
No,
one of the later seasons. I don't know. Doesn't matter. We're not doing an office show. I don't know
why we're talking TV right now. I was gonna say, was that when they closed a branch and they had to merge a branch?
I think it was when they merged.
Yeah, and that's how they got Jim back to the Scranton branch, is when they had to merge. Anyway, I can go. I've seen The Office.
I love The Office. Yeah.
I still actually don't own the final 2 seasons in any format.
What's your problem?
I don't know. I've just never bought them.
It's tough to find reason. it's tough to come up with reasons to buy TV right now. It's just so easy to find.
You say that, Steven, and I tell you right now, the way things are trending, people better start buying TV or else they're not going to be able to watch anything.
Yeah, well, let's not get on a depressing route. Let's finish out our input.
Yeah, let's finish out. So that is pretty much Via Vision in its nutshell. I didn't get to see the House of the Spirits.
No, it does have a great cast though. Yeah.
Yes, it does.
It's got Meryl Streep and.
Yeah, Meryl Streep, Jeremy Irons, Glenn Close, Winona Ryder, Antonio Banderas, Vanessa Redgrave. Yeah. That's an all-star.
That's a hell of a cast.
See one. I thought there was another movie that I had missed out on talking about. Hold on, let me go to their Facebook page for a second. But yeah, that's the only movie I really didn't get to see in that entire slate. Like I said, I saw Little Buddha back in high school, and if I remember correctly, Steven, I don't know if you've seen that movie.
I haven't. No.
Well, it's the premise of it is interesting. So I think it has to do with reincarnation of the Buddha, and they're trying to find out who this little it's after the death of Lama Dorje, Tibetan Buddhist monks find 3 children, 1 American, 2 Nepalese, who may be the rebirth of their great teacher. I don't think it's the Buddha. I think it's just a reincarnation of someone else. Directed by Bernardo Bertolucci.
Well, yeah, there you go.
Which
they did the
Last
Last
just
Emperor.
Talked about him.
Yeah.
The Last Emperor. That's coming out from Arrow. So I had seen this movie once upon a time. So this movie stars a bunch of different people. It does say Keanu Reeves is in the movie, and he is.
Yeah,
he is in the film
he plays the little Buddha. No,
he's in the film, and he is in, like, I can't remember how many sequences. It's been forever since I've seen this. But yeah. So,
but it's kind of like that. To give a more for the children that listen to this show, like the process of finding the Avatar from the Avatar: The Last Airbender, where they. When the last Avatar dies, they have to go around and go around the world looking for the new Avatar that's reincarnated. That's what they're doing in this movie, right?
Yeah, in a way, yes.
I mean, it's obviously influenced by that.
So it's not a reincarnation
culture.
of the Buddha; it's a reincarnation of a spiritual teacher who has passed away.
Yeah.
And there's like between 3 of the children, and I remember the ending. I don't want to give it away though.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, so I don't want to spoil the whole.
Don't be like me.
Yeah, don't be like you. So that is pretty much it for Via Vision, and I thought I missed something else. But I think we talked about pretty much everything. We went through the gambit of things. We didn't talk Kino, any Kino releases other than that avant-garde silent film set. I guess
we'll get around to it.
Kino.
We'll get around to it when we come back. Yeah.
There are some stuff that did come out from Kino, but we'll just wait. Did we talk? Yeah, never mind. I'm looking at a movie right here that we did get to talk about, Black Sun. We did get to talk about Black Sunday.
We brought it up.
With Arrow.
We brought it.
So Steven, I guess you can kind of outro us out of here.
Well, let's just say thanks, everybody. Thanks to all the listeners, all the support we've gotten for this year, for 2022. And like I've said, this is going to be our last episode of the year. We're going to take a little break. Take a couple weeks off, revamp ourselves, and come into the new year hard. I think we got some interesting guests coming up. Hopefully, so it's tough to get guests this time of the year because they're in the holiday mode. So I'm trying to get some guests together. But either way, you're going to hear us talk Blu-rays. Always, that's always going to be on the docket. But we just want to thank you guys for being supportive and continuing to be supportive and. Please show more of that support by going to rate us on Apple Podcasts and leave us some reviews, some things to work on. Please go join our group on Facebook. That's a good place to hear. You can get to us personally on there. We're always posting stuff in there and reacting to things. And so please go join us there. But Andrew, where can you be found?
You can find me on Twitter at Capzilla06, as well as our YouTube channel, Chasing Labels.
And you can find me on Facebook, Stephen Billings. You can find me at all the other Chasing Labels pages, whether it be our Twitter, at Chasing Labels. You can find me at the Instagram at Chasing Labels Pod. You can even follow me on Letterboxd where you can see what I'm watching. I usually kind of keep that up to date. Sometimes I forget a movie here and there, but for the most part, you can see what I'm watching there on Letterboxd at Chasing Labels. And then also you can find the audio for the podcast on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and other places. Thanks again for listening, guys. And hey, keep on watching them movies.
I know I will.